Hello, hello.
Hello, Internet.
Can you hear me?
I can hear someone, but I can't see.
Me.
That sounds like Will.
Is that Will?
It's Will.
Hi,
You got
Will.
it.
We're without camera,
How are
though.
you?
We're good.
You're without camera? All right, let me give you something.
I don't know whether I could be bothered moving the three. Let's see how it's 3 on 3. I don't know if I could be bothered moving it all. I think we'll just leave the black in the middle.
The black in it. What, the chatties in the middle and we're around it?
No, the chatties are bottom right.
Oh.
Yep. Hello, all the chatties, by the way. I did say hi, chatties, in the actual chat. There's Andy.
There's Andy looking down on him.
There's Andy's head.
Right, do I need to adjust that? Or is that your setting?
At least your first name isn't Richard, because then we'd just say, there's Richard's head.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then we can shorten Richard.
Yeah. To Rick. Do I need to adjust that? Is that because that's in the same place? I think it's in the same place. I'll give it a tweak.
Well, that's what it looks like when you're full screen. You want to look at yourself, full screen? Andy's not even hide. What is it? Widescreen.
Oh, I have no idea what that piece of shit is. I've really no idea. Yeah, is that
So
better?
you guys,
Yes,
any idea how I would go about changing that? Changing the camera? Usually just pops right up for me.
Okay, so there's a little like a toolbar down the bottom of your browser, which has got like a cog icon.
Yeah, I've got that open.
And then you should be able to just select your camera in there.
I'm gonna try to pick something different and reopen it.
I did actually see you before when you popped in, like briefly.
Yeah,
I did see you before.
That's what I thought. I didn't see anything, so.
And then you disappeared, and I thought, wow, how rude. No, just joking.
Let me pop
You've not
out
turned
here
the
and I'll
camera
just-
off on the controls at the bottom, have you?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying.
I don't believe so.
Look, you can see my mouse. Look, Internet, there's my mouse. Whee!
Did that
Oh, there
do
we
it?
go. Look at that.
There it is.
Whatever you did, don't undo that.
How are you guys doing today?
We're good. We've got well, I'm hoping that we can keep everyone
Just gonna add to
happy.
the sound effects like Darren.
Yeah, yeah. Just if I go, what do I have to go like this?
Kapow, zap.
Here's a story.
Aaron, I
we're
don't know
gonna
if
be,
we've
it's
met.
going to be 5 of us.
Will?
We are
Right, well,
streaming live, by the way.
We're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we was on about a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I thought I was with Lisa and Andrew before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
think
on
it
too as well.
yeah.
Well, that-
Darren was there.
Was Darren on as well?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah. That
Either
was
that or I was in the chat, and I no.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I actually don't think Lisa
Oh, was that
wasn't
in
there.
the chat?
No, she was. That was our first new Eurorack, new to Eurorack episode that we did.
Yeah,
And-
it was just me, Andrew, and Rand, and Lisa. Promise.
Right.
I just had this debate with her
must
yesterday. She's like, I was there, and Darren was there. He's missing the show.
Is he joining us today?
If we
is he?
didn't,
She's
see you
supposed to
will.
be. There's a spot for her up the
She was-
top right hand corner.
She was on. She was in the Facebook room a minute.
She
ago.
was. Yeah, she'll be here. Don't worry. We've got 9-10 minutes or whatever it is before the show starts. Hello, everyone watching us. We're just getting ourselves ready. As you can see, there's more screens today. Yay, something different. Everyone's losing their
So are we
SHIT because it looks different.
Are we broadcasting live already?
We are, yeah.
Oh, and I was swearing and everything. Oh no.
Oh, don't worry about that. It's monetization is turned off. So I do that on purpose now. I can't even be bothered. What am I going to earn? 0.01 of a cent. And everyone just gets pissed off with the ads all through the stream. So yeah, monetization's off. It will be off forever, and it will only be turned on the replay shows. So
sorry that
you can still hear me?
Yes.
I look frozen on my end. I don't know. Am I frozen?
Yeah, you look frozen. Is it cold there?
It is getting there.
Ba-boom.
Do you think the resolution has anything to do with it? Because I'm at 720.
There you are there. Look, it could possibly be that I'm pushing the internet to the end of its limits at my end, but we'll see. We'll try. We don't have Inky yet, so it should be okay. But are you seeing the feedback? Oh, he's back. There you go. So that's what you look like full screen, Will.
I switched it to 1080 just to be safe.
That's not. It's not a bad image, really.
Yeah, it's frozen again. Damn it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I'm only on 720.
What can I make him on? Let me see what I can put him on. Where is he?
And I'm on 7:30.
In fact, actually, I'm on whatever the camera will work at because I can't change it on this Mac.
So the feedback you're getting, Will, the feed that you're getting from me is 720 at 800K, which should be good enough for you to get back. But yeah, you can send me whatever you like.
8K.
We're streaming live at the latest football stadium on the 8K screen. There we go. Oh, Inky's here. Yay!
Inky!
I'm back to 720, but I'm afraid I'm going to lock up again.
I think it's okay.
Hey, look, all right to me.
We're attempting to do 5 people today, plus chatties. So it may be precarious. Geez, Will's room looks amazing. Check this out. How cool is that room? You've done some changes to that room, I've noticed, Will, since the last time I've seen it.
Maybe. It's been pretty much the same, but I have changed the lights. So I can change the lights.
Because it's nice and bright. Okay, I get you. Yep.
Yeah. I've got a different little, like a scene for red and green and blue and whatever.
Is that the Philips Hue system?
This is actually the LIFX bulbs.
Right, I don't know that one.
LIFX. And if I go to red, I can put red on it.
Nice.
Yeah. And then there's like a colored set, and then there's a regular white and yellow set, so that the ones that are shining on me don't ever get all red and blue and all that. So high tech in a low tech mind.
Well, I think people would probably argue that that's not the case with you, Will. But anyway, we won't go there. I think you've got a fairly good tech mind. Okay, so everyone's here. We are about 7 minutes away from starting the main show. Hello to all the chatties. I'll do a formal hello at the start of the show. Good to see all the regulars there. Keep an eye out for any noobs in the chat room. Now, today we're going to be attempting to talk about, well, what's the best kind of big sampler out there? Like, which one's the best? Which one is king? And I don't reckon we're going to get an answer, but we'll have a crack at it. I think you're there with all of your amazing gear, and one of the things that I've noticed is that you've got a Force, a a Live, and a Deluge. So you've got a pretty good understanding across multi-platforms there. Inky's got MPC Lives and a Force. I've got a Force, MPC Live, and an Octatrack Mark II. So I'll bring the Octatrack sort of argument in. So the common denominator, I guess, amongst probably most of us here is the Force and the Live, right? Well, in your case, it's an MPCX, but similar sort of operating system. And it's actually good that Marcus, who's in the chat room from Greece, has joined us because he also has a Deluge, and that's awesome that we've got that. No one here has a Maschine Plus because they haven't been really released to anyone except for a few lucky YouTubers. So we can't really talk about that. Andy can talk about the Electro sampler because he's got one right next to his head there.
Mm-hmm. I got a 2K I got a 2000 XL. I've got a Bitbox. I've got, of course, the Push. I've got Push 2, and I've got a XT20 as well, and a Leslie's XT20 VHS tape, multi-track VHS tape, audio,
right,
recorder, sampler. I know I'm frozen again, but I think
Inky's frozen as well.
Inky is frozen.
Yeah, I haven't heard her sweet voice.
I heard her speaking yet.
Yeah, we've just got.
She was done with all the samplers.
She's got a worried look looking at the computer face. What's going on?
I've dug a couple of mine out as well. You might see I've got a new backdrop there, an interesting doorstop. That's me. That's the W30, just to keep Axel Soft happy if he's in there. There it is.
Oh, look at that!
I even dusted it. And next to that, there's an EMU ESI 4000 in a nice aluminium rack case. Which,
yes.
I keep meaning to dig that one out again, actually, but I got round to it. It's like many things. Keep not quite.
I'm going with Akai R1S.
Yeah, because you've got samplers, Darren.
SL1.
You can't say you haven't got samplers because you've got them.
And that little SU10 from Yamaha, that's funky little box too.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a happy bunny because the screen doesn't seem to do much now. Even when batteries are in it, it just doesn't do much. It just goes blur. So I think that's gone. But I have the biggest sample anyway, the computer.
Well, quite.
I don't know if I agree with that.
It is in my area.
Well, we can have that argument, can't we?
Yeah.
We really can.
Because, define best, and best may actually have workflow as part of the best.
I don't mean best, because best's what suits you.
Yeah. Oh, Inky's back. Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Ah, there she is.
She's muted, though.
Take a drink. Muted.
We can't hear you.
Long time no see.
Can't hear you. It's definitely not my end. They're all on here. It's your end. Promise you.
In theory.
She's not been on for a while. She's probably...
Famous last words, I say.
Nope.
There we go. I heard something.
Oh.
Nope. Do what you did before. That for a split second, something came through.
Might have been my chair.
Your chair sounds like Lisa.
No.
Why don't you just mouth the words, Lisa, and I'll interpret.
She can hold signs up.
Hearts. What does that mean?
It means that she's about to punch something in a studio. Right. Well, 2 minutes to go before we hit the magic button. I do notice there's a few new people here. So do shout out if you're new and you've never been to this channel before, because there's a lot of nice people here that'll give you a nice warm welcome. We're going to try and see if we can break our record. I think the record is about 33 or 34 concurrent viewers. We're currently on 30, so invite your mates. tell your friends to come. I actually wanted to
I
get
did.
100 one day. So
I did go to IG actually before I came on and just told everybody I was going to be live to come on through if they want to talk about samplers. So there could be some.
cool. Thank you for doing that. Awesome. Inky still not got sound. No, promise. We'll let you know when we can hear you. It'll be like a massive cheer. Hang on. What I might do is I might start the show. So let's hit this button here. Well, a big happy Saturday to you. Welcome to another show. This one, we're going to introduce some really cool topics about samplers and the big samplers out there, which I think you've probably worked out already that we're doing that. Let us know in the chat if everything's working okay. I'm getting error messages popping up left, right, and center. But we're also going to attempt to do something that I've never done before, and that is have more than 4 people on the screen. So this time we've got all of these people. Look at that. It's a different view. We've got a big black strip in the middle, but that's okay. That's all I can do for now. We'll have to try and see if we can get another 3 people to fit in that spot. But hopefully my crappy Australian internet connection will hold up anyway. So what we'll do is we've still got a couple of people we're trying to get the sound going, and I'll leave those people to last. But who should we start off with? Will, are you still frozen? Or are you still good?
I'm frozen. I'll be right back.
Okay, so we'll do Will in a sec. Let's start with Andy. Andy, big welcome to you. How's your week been?
Hello. How's my week been? Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm still just trying to get to grips with new ways of working at work and running around demented from one side of the building to the other to make sure that we're on time to all these kids who are in their isolated bubbles. And yeah, it's just been knackering. I've been going to bed early doors most nights of the week, and so I've not really felt up to doing very much other than working and sleeping. So hardly exciting, but getting back to something resembling normal life, which is quite nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least you've got some sort of continuance going. Now, who else have we got here? We've got Darren. Darren, a big warm welcome to you again. How's your week been?
Hello. Pretty busy actually. With work, studio, writing my first mini album. I keep saying I've got all these albums on the go, and I have, but I'm actually sitting down and actually writing one as I want it.
Wow, this is exciting.
I'm on the second track because I released the first track, Lifeforms Within Lifeforms. So
yep,
I'm writing the second track now. And also writing the track for tomorrow, which is a continuation from last week's track called Sunday, so it'll be called Monday. So, and that's using the Erebus, not the Erebus, that's using the Dreadbox and the TD3 that Ranzo wanted me to use last week.
I actually did enjoy it. I did enjoy your track last Sunday, I have to admit. It was quite a nice little surprise. So, good job on that one. Fantastic.
What, you mean to say you don't enjoy the others?
No, of course I do.
Hey.
We're just specifically talking about that one. Have we got Inky yet? No, we haven't got her yet. She's still going to have to sort out her audio. Don't know what it is.
I was unfrozen.
And you are unfrozen.
Actually, okay.
You know what? I'm gonna do a proper exit and come back in.
Okay.
And if I don't get a video, then
there she is. We've got Lisa.
Cool. See you in a bit.
All right.
Yeah,
let's
take it a bit.
It's gone again.
I should be here.
Let's say hi to Lisa.
Yeah.
Haven't had you for a while, and
hello.
Hello.
Tell us how your week's been.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, I watched this stream yesterday, and it was like the musical Mr. Tumble, and he was like rocking away, and he was like, "Don't forget, if you've got any instruments, join along." I thought, do you know what? I will. So I plugged in the I got the Force, got piano on it, and it was playing with the MIDI controller. and joining in. It was quite good to find out that I could kind of harmonise and get the notes he was getting and sense his key changes, even though like I don't really know much about that stuff. I do, but I can't do it. So it's really good. Yeah, I had a really good day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
We'll
yeah,
have
it's,
to,
it's a good thing to do if you've got no musical ideas. He was really good. You know, it was really good practice to do. It was fun. So that's
Yeah.
good.
If you get a chance, we can paste the link into chat so those guys can go and check it out later on. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, he is like, I don't know if you got any kids in the UK. Well, I don't think any of you. There's a guy called Mr. Tumble, and he's like the musical version. He's like, come on, clap along, guys, and we're on the bus, and woo, stop. Oh, it was awesome. He's called Andy Piddock.
Right.
P-I-D-O-C-K,
Oh, yeah.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
it's
but-
cool.
We're just waiting for
He's
Will
been on
to
Jamie's show.
rejoin us. I just thought I'd mention that we're waiting for Will to join us. But while we've got the chatties, we'll say good day to the chatties, which we like to do every week. No, I'm muted. There we go. And how come the chatties aren't working? What's going on here? My goodness me. I think I can fix that. Just have to do a little trick here. I'm just keeping an eye on Will too while we're doing that because I don't want to lose him. Just give me a second. Let's get the chatties. Sorry, guys. It's great internet, isn't it, when this sort of technical things happen? That should pop up chatties. Yay! There they are. Fantastic. All right. Big hello to all you guys who are in the chat. And obviously, it's, you know, without you guys, the show's not the show. So what should we do? Should we start all the way from the start? I think Marcus was first. So big hello to Marcus, the Mr. Deluge man. D-Best, how you going? Mike Delic, nice to see you, Mike. George, g'day, George. Who else? Mega Mark's there. Wagoo's there. Azio Head. Geosynth, Jamie, how you going? Nice to see you, mate. Who else we got? Mr. Mac. Richard Grooks. Sergio. Foxy's there. And who else? Finn's there. G'day, Finn. Nice to see you. And I'm scrolling, and I'm probably going to scroll off the screen in a second. Hanway Wiesner's there. I did see some other names, and I don't know if I'm going to miss anyone. Chon's there. Chon Dublin. Awesome. Mr. Gumby's there. Karma.
George.
Second time, he says. So thanks for coming back. It's always good for people that come back. We didn't scare you enough. JX3D's there. Geez, it's awesome. Lots of people. Steve Elbows. So yeah, it's great. And if you're new, don't forget to say you're new because you know we're not going to scare you off too much. Jack Deep has just popped in. I haven't seen that name before, so big welcome to you.
No.
So yeah, it's awesome. And we're trying to break our record. So tell your friends. We're trying to break 34 concurrent viewers. I think at the moment it's sitting at 32. So tell your buddies, share the link, and see how you go. Now, have we got Will back yet? No, we haven't got Will back. All right, what we're going to do is we'll say hello to Will in a sec once he gets himself sorted. Just to keep the show going, we are going to, if you're new and you've never watched this before, we do a couple of regular segments. And the first one we're going to do is called FunnySide. Yes, and I like to say that you have reached the end of the internet, and apparently things can be strange here, and they may even be funny. Starting off with this. Yes, that's right. Someone wanted to know how to describe all the different waveforms. So I'm going to attempt this. So it says, hi, in really, really well-written English. Basically, can you please explain the waveform usages? And the person answered, the sine goes, whoa, wow, whoa. The saw goes, the triangle goes, wee, wow. So you get the idea. So that was a very useful answer. Yes. That does make stupid people like me laugh. Next, we have this one, how to make music. Yes, that's right. This one's not good. Dearie me. So drums, bass, melody, lead, First, you make an 8-bar loop. Then, holy shit, you ruin everything like you always do. This music is like your life. He loves you. Ah, dearie, mate. I'm sorry if anyone takes offense to that, but if you're going to take offense to that,
Real.
if you're going to take offense to that, you're definitely going to take offense to the next one. And this one is definitely, all the children, block your eyes, because here we go. Finally, Arturia brings synthesis to the ultimate technology. A synth you can modulate with your... Now, the reason... Okay, so that's pretty risky, right? But have a look what people are saying. Aphex Twin. Ballscape's on the way. Trent Reznor. I think I might cry. Vince Clark. Where do I sign? And then there's Wendy Carlos.
Hey.
Sorry, but that one just had to get in there, didn't it, people? Sorry about FunnySide. I do apologise in advance. If you didn't like it, bad luck. 3 cents to the screen in disgust. Which was your favourite this week, people?
Definitely.
Number
Are you
2
still
was
picking
good
your jaw
'cause
off the ground?
Because it's very naughty.
It's very naughty, isn't it? Oh, you should have seen the spin-off memes that came from that one. That was probably one of the most riskiest memes I've seen this year, but it was just perfect. There was spin-off memes where people were talking about Volkers and playing the Arturia Polybrute at the same time. And if people follow memes, they'll understand what you do with your Volker. What are you
What's
holding
that
up
one,
there,
Inky?
Inky?
It's a record for Darren.
All right,
That's
hold it
all
up again.
He'll
Hold it
do
up again. Go on, do it. Oh, King B backed by Dope Demand. Didn't you? I think you were mentioning that the other day, weren't you?
I don't know. I
think you might have.
I forgot what I did 5 minutes ago.
We've got Will back. Before we lose Will, I think we should say a big warm welcome. He hasn't been on the show for a little while, and then second time coming back. How you going, Will? How's your week been? And without any audio. Yay.
Sound.
No audio, mate. We can't hear you. We will just wait a sec while he sorts his audio out. And I do apologise if the internet is a little bit glitchy, because we are trying, 5 people today, and it may be pushing that Australian internet connection. If you're watching Australian government, just fix your internet. I think Will's reconnected.
It's looking all right.
Oh, hang on. He's back. Here we go. Let's start again. How you going, Will?
Still good.
Fantastic.
You had asked me what my week was like, and
Yes.
I responded with doing what nerds do, sitting in a dark basement with
Beautiful.
lots of equipment that I know nothing about. And I'll just pretend by pushing buttons and acting like other YouTubers I see that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Awesome, mate. What do
Shush, Will. You
gotta fake it till you
giving
make
the
it.
game away. Yeah, don't tell everyone that's what we're doing, Will. Shush.
Doesn't everyone fake it till they make it? That's how everyone becomes famous, isn't it? Fantastic. Look, you know, if pressing buttons and something actually happens, it's called a happy accident, and that's probably one of the best things that ever happens, isn't it? Happy accidents. So awesome to have you, mate. We're so glad that you're back. I have been keeping an eye on your streams, and I will definitely recommend, if anyone's never seen Will, there's a link in the description of the video below. Once this one hits on the replay, and you'll be able to go check out his channel. He does actually quite frequently stream, so which really impresses me. Actually making me ashamed, because I should stream more. But anyway, it's awesome. Okay, what else can we do? We should probably get on to some news, because we do have some. Let's hit this button. Fantastic. We have news this week, people, and yes, you've probably already seen most of the news if you've been watching stuff, but that's probably the first one I think we should probably talk about is this one. Yes, Arturia finally released the Matrix Brute that it should have been in the first place. Yes, they're calling it the Poly Brute. I don't know. This is what I've been saying all week. I mean, I think I even said it when the Matrix Brute first came out. It should never have been a mono synth, the Matrix Brute, and now they've actually done it properly. And look, it's got some really, really cool ideas in there. You've got that, obviously, that wooden sort of modulator thing that we were just joking about before. But in all seriousness, it's kind of like an XYZ controller. And I think people will probably...
A touche.
It's a bit like Touche, isn't
Darren,
it?
yeah.
It is a bit like Touche, but it's not as feature-packed as Touche, by the way. Notice, though, that it's got the mod wheel and the pitch bend up a bit higher. So they're kind of, Arturia kind of going, well, we'll just shove these out of the way. You don't need that anymore. You can use our wooden chopping board and chop some onions up while you're playing on your synth at the same time. Anyway, 8-voice polysynth, 3 oscillators per voice. Matrix is in there like it was on the Matrix Brute. It's a little bit smaller, but yeah, let's have a little quick reaction from all of us. Who's excited about this? Has anyone had a listen? Anyone seen it? Who wants to have a quick reaction?
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Nick mess around with it over on Sonic State. I like that it has some lush effects. And, you know, you're getting 6 voices. You're not getting 16 or anything like that. But my Prophet 6 has 6 and, you know, true analog voices, and they sound great. I think this is a win-win for Arturia. I mean, maybe there's some people that wish, you know, they would come out with something else, but I think it's you know, does it have polyphonic aftertouch or just standard aftertouch? Does anybody know?
I think Nick said it was channel aftertouch.
Channel aftertouch, yeah. It's got that. It does have the ribbon up the top, though.
Right.
A bit like the CS80.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, CS80 is of course the, you know, the ideal kind of ribbon synth. But yeah, I think that'll definitely be something implemented in a lot of synths moving forward, just because it seems like a trendy thing. But you'll never have a CS80 unless you have a CS80. You know, I think it's a nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, what information do we kind of need to sort of else say about this? Where are we? I've lost my little thing here. So, looking at my little cheat sheet here, analog details. It's got everything the Matrix Brute's got. So I don't know if we really should probably go into that too much, because I mean I think most of us know. But things like wave folding, linear FM, hard sync, all that sort of stuff is pretty cool. 100% analog signal path, I think, is, you know, kind of what we'd expect. Steiner Parker filter, which we expected, but also it's got the ability to sort of run filters in parallel, or whatever you call it, linear.
It's got a ladder filter as well. Like the Matrix Brute had a.
So you can run the two filters, run the filter into another filter, basically, similar to what the Matrix Brute is.
Somebody else mentioned the AB blending. That is pretty cool.
The AB blending.
That's the only thing that really grabbed me. I wasn't particularly taken with the synths, but so you can do that with a DeepMind with an app, but to be able to do it on a synth is great. I think I'd like to see more of that come in. That's a great thing.
It's not the first synth though that does it. So you know, there's quite a few digital synths out there that do it. But yeah, to do it on an analog is a bit rarer.
With an actual knob control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you want to do it on the DeepMind, you need an iPad, you know? But yeah, to actually have it physically controlled, I'd like to see that come in more. If they've done it, why can't everyone do it?
Well, that's a very good question, Inky. And we should just get all these manufacturers to come on and answer that. But they never want to. It does have a bit more effects, which I thought was quite good. It's got obviously chorus, phaser, flanger, ring mod, which the other one had, but it's also got bucket brigade delay, digital delay, and 9 reverb algorithms, including shimmer, which is new. So there's a few people that like that, and I also think the modulation side of things is pretty good. They are talking about one envelope being a DADSR with looping capability, which is also good. So look, there's a lot going on in that synth, and anyone else want to make a comment about
price for it?
it was
I
about
think it's got a lot going for it.
Yeah, I think it was about where are we? 24.99 euros.
Yeah,
About 4K in
it's
Australian
sort of-
dollars.
It's going head to head with a lot of other big analog polys and some digital polys. It's entering a quite crowded market, but I think it's got a lot going for it. I mean, particularly for a player, and if you like to actually play and perform, certainly that touche style pad, that's a big plus. I think that's great. I can't wait to have a play with something like that. And of course the strip ribbon controller, that's always something that people love to get their hands on and play with. I think it's got a lot going for it. So yeah, definitely. It's again at the minute way out of my price league, but you never know. One day might be in there. I think they've got a hit on their hands basically.
Yeah. Look, it's not a synth that has been. Oh, look! Surprise! We brought this out. I think a lot of people knew about this, and I think it was even being shown in behind closed doors at NAMM at the start of the year. So quite a lot of people have had it, and they've been beta testing it, and they've been writing patches for it. So do you know what I mean? Arturia kind of play it that way, which I think is probably a good way to be, because they can try and iron out as many bugs as they can with the synth, as much as they possibly can before they release it in the wild, which is unlike some of the other companies out there, which I think is good. Okay, we must move on. Unless anyone wants to make a quick comment, can we move on to the next? Yes, because there's more. Okay, here it is. Oh, I bet you weren't expecting this. What is this, everybody?
It's beautiful.
Strymon Night Sky. What's going on? What is this all about? Well, this has been leaked, as far as I know. So I don't even know if the information that I'm about to tell you is all that accurate. But basically, it's a new reverb with a built-in sequencer made by Strymon. And obviously, the Strymon Big Sky and Blue Sky are great pedals. So they are kind of talking about this is like the next generation up. It does have some really, really cool editing features there just on that face of the pedal, which is pretty cool, actually. I think this might be a synthesizer person's pedal dream come true almost. Anyway, what can we tell you about it? Well, sequence reverb. It has 3 foot switches, which are labeled to do with the sequencing, right? So you can actually hold and step, hold and morph your sequence. And you also have infinite hold, which is like on the Big Sky as well. There are clear sort of little numbered lights that you can see just above it. And on the back, you've got a USB connection, so you can upload algorithms to this, and it only costs 489 euros. And I say only. You guys have to remember, this is a pretty high-end pedal in terms of what it can do. So it's not, you're not comparing this to a Boss guitar pedal or anything like that. But they aren't necessarily available just yet. But I do believe that the information will be released probably by Monday when we can get these or not. All right, who wants to have a quick comment about the Strymon Night Sky?
I'll definitely go with my Big Sky. I wouldn't mind one. I like the look of it. It's Strymon as well. I like the Strymon Big Sky. So yeah, I think if I had to put anything on my list, that might be on.
Right.
It's about half the price as well, isn't it, Darren?
No, I think it's similar price, because I think the Big Sky is about £435, something like that.
Yeah, I thought this was a bit cheaper.
I think it's about the same. Someone in chat can let us know if what the Big Sky is working on. It's okay. So Finn is saying it's now actually on Strymon's website, which probably means that we can now buy it. There you go. So they did launch it. Cool. So it was a pretty quick leak, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Magneto.
You just can't go wrong with Strymon effects, can you?
Oh, Magneto.
Yeah.
Bzzzt. Right there.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's tremendous. I use it every day. Love it.
Same.
The sampling within it is awesome. That's another sampler I have. I forgot about.
Yeah.
So, it's got some great features in it, and I love it.
They've got some good software engineers working at Strymon, definitely, because I mean, like you said, Will, the Magneto, it's so musical. Like, you know, it really doesn't feel digital at all. It actually does feel like you're playing an instrument, which is something, you know, that a lot of these digital things don't do.
They're a great company too. I mean, as far as I can tell, you know, they support. I mean, they've shared my streams on their own Facebook page. So for them to go and find my stuff and share it on their Facebook page without, I don't have any affiliation with them. So for them to do that, I thought was a pretty cool thing for a company. So to me, they kind of feel like I don't know, maybe like a mom and pop shop. Even though I know that's not true, they do feel a little more connected to the community.
Yeah, that is true about them. They are kind of down to earth. That's how I describe them. They're a down to earth sort of company. They're not, you know, up in the clouds somewhere, even though they're called Big Sky.
Right.
But yeah, down to earth, but big sky, night sky, big sky, blue sky. Definitely Magneto. You know, I can't recommend that to enough. We actually probably should have talked about that on our Eurorack thing the other day. But anyway, we won't digress too much. Anyone else want to make a quick comment, or should we go on to the next?
Okay. It's obviously the Eventide as well, Black Hole.
Yes, now that did come out. I don't know if I've got it on here. Let me just quickly check what the next one is. Okay, let's do this one first. So this one is Behringer's announcement that they're bringing out the Pro 800. And they've got some guy that developed or helped improve the development of the Pro 600. Probably more sort of modern, I think it was. What's his name? Gigi or something? Gifiki? I forget what this guy's name is. Someone can correct me. I'm hopeless with this stuff. Some guy anyway that worked and sort of, tried to improve the Pro 600. Anyway, so this has got 8 voice polyphony. And I don't know, for me, I'm actually pretty excited about this. Not necessarily how it looks or anything like that, but actually the fact that I've always wanted a DSI or a sequential synth. I've never been able to afford one. Behringer are actually saying this is going to come out at under $600 US. That is like, bam, wow. 8 voice.
It is.
VCO too, not DCO, VCO. And I do believe the Pro 600 might have been DCO. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And it only has 6 voices too.
What's
but
the Pro 600? Do you mean the original sequential circuits Prophet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 6-voice synth. It's VCOs though.
It is VCO, okay. But I mean, everything you can see that this looks very, very similar to the Pro 1. It's almost like Behringer have gone cut and paste, and let's make the Pro 1 into a poly, and they've just added that little bit on the left-hand side. I don't know if I like the left-hand side. It's very 80s looking. Some people might think it looks cool. It might be a nightmare. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But that's probably the only negative thing I can say about it. But the fact is, oh, wow.
It's a nod and a wink to the original Prophet,
Prophet's
600. Those sorts of little calculator-style buttons and things. That's what the original Prophet 600 was like. So, I think it looks great. And if it's only going to cost, what did you say, 400, 500 quid?
Well, under 600. Yeah.
Under 600. Oh, that's just. Oh, it's just so naughty again. It's just wonderful. I really would like that. I mean, if it's the modulation's slightly cut down compared to the Pro 1. There's not as many modulation routines, but it's a polysynth, so you don't necessarily want everything modulating all over the place. So, yeah, I think like you, Rans, to get your hands on a poly version of the Pro 1 was just going to be lovely.
Yeah,
very nice indeed.
How long are those membrane buttons going to last, though?
Good question, Darren.
Yes, Behringer, if you're watching, please set up your robots to hit that button 1 million times before you release it to the... No. Anyway, I actually don't know. Darren, what about you? Are you interested in a polyphonic analog synth? Because, you've got your famous Juno behind you.
I'm trying not to get hyped about anything, to be honest. Because of...
Says he who never would buy Behringer.
Yeah, I mean, Never. Apart from two things. It looks good. I like to say it's. I would be dubious about the membrane buttons though, because as you were showing the other rack, how they were built, I'm a bit. Surely they could have stuck some, just put the price up a bit and put some decent buttons on. But yeah, it looks good and it's going to sound great. So,
Well,
go on.
I'm gonna say when I do get it, because I'm definitely getting this, because I'm in like 8-voice VCO Pro 1 polysynth basically. Yeah, I'll put the little microscope camera in for you, so you can check out the membrane buttons up close and see if it mechanically passes your tick of approval, Darren.
I want you to do a strip down so we can see what it's like.
A strip down, okay. I mean, for that price, you could buy two of them. Seriously.
Does it have any built-in effects, Rance? Just out of interest. Are there any? Have they taken the opportunity to put like an effects processor in it?
It's saying they don't know whether it's going to have the arpeggiator or sequencer on board, and they don't know whether it's got anything else. There's single output, foot switch, MIDI routing, matrix.
So it's just a mono output. So
yeah,
there's no. So you're gonna have to go out and buy one of these big night sky things anyway to run it through as well.
Because then it will sound good. Yeah.
Add another 400 quid to the price.
That'd make your toilet flush sound good. A night sky. The guy that I mentioned before, his name's Gleegly or Gligly. Sorry, I did mispronounce that before. Inky, I'm interested in hearing your opinion of this. I mean, DeepMind is your last analog poly, right?
I'm waiting for the monopoly. I think I'd like the Pro 1 first. I do like this.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But it's really I'm there's something about that monopoly that out of all the synths we've heard in months, maybe 12 months, it's the one thing that my ears pricked up straight away. No effects or whatever. I went, I really like that. Every other synth, I'm kind of debating. Well, it makes a nice sound, and I could use it, and it might be useful in this way. But with that monopoly, as soon as I heard it, I was like, "What's that?" So I'll wait till the monopoly comes out, and maybe get a Pro 1, and I need a TD3. But I like it. I really like it. Someone else buy it and show me what it's all about. Eh?
Well, you'll see here. Can I ask, have you ever actually heard a monopoly in real life, like the original Korg one?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. And it was just as soon as it was played, something happened. It wasn't a brain thing where I thought, oh, it sounds nice. I went, what's that? It's the first synth I think that's done that to me.
It's grabbed you.
Everything else I've gone, well, yeah, it's useful and it sounds good on this patch or through effects but the actual raw synth, my ears actually pricked up like when you hear a really good DJ.
Yeah.
Like, who's that? And that's rare. That's never happened to me on a synth ever before. So, but I do like this. I think it's going to be a game changer. It's the first kind of polysynth that you can save patches on since the DeepMind that they've done, and it's relatively affordable, isn't it? So, yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and that, I mean, obviously that while I've got you up there, Inky, that thing on we were joking about before with the membranes and that is your patch storage. So it's very sort of old-esque style patch storage, but it actually reminds me a bit of the way that the old Korg Poly 800 and all those sort of things worked. Also, obviously the original Pro 600 as well. So yeah, that is awesome. Now, whilst we've got everyone up there, I do want to pop this into here. Sorry, I'm just got a slight thing that I haven't done ahead of time. Sorry, people. 1 second. Special button, waiting for it to work. Yes, this is riveting for everyone who's sitting there watching. I do apologize. Where has it gone? There it is. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, I am going to hit this magic button here. news, and then is it this one? Yes, we did talk about it briefly before. So there's another guitar pedal that's come out, and that is the Eventide Black Hole. Now, this is not the first black hole per se that you could get on a guitar pedal, is it? Because they've been around for a while, but this is actually like a dedicated pedal just for that black hole algorithm, and then all of the, the settings that you can make on it. Now you can also upload, I think, up to, I think there's 9 other algorithms. I think it's set on there that you can upload to it. It's got a little USB connector at the back. Anyway, so $279 US. That's the killer. So I think that is probably going to end up in a lot of people's collections, because that is a really, really nice algorithm, the black hole. I don't know who has never heard the algorithm, the black hole. Anyone?
We've probably all heard it, but just didn't realise we were hearing it.
Yeah, it's been around for a long time, but it's just a really, really big, long taily sort of reverb. And Will, you haven't frozen. Okay, good. I was going to say, Will, do you want to?
My mate.
Do you want to let us know? Not you, Andy. Sorry, Will. Do you want to let us know what you think of the Eventide black hole compared to maybe the Strymon?
The Magneto.
Yeah, even the Big Sky.
I don't own anything Strymon except for the Magneto.
Right.
I've heard some stuff online and whatnot. I'm kind of curious about the freeze, because the freeze, I'm wondering if it's similar to the tech that's in the Magneto, because the Magneto you can kind of like freeze. You can freeze the audio that's coming through, and it'll just take a small little snippet of it and play it over and over and over really quickly. I'm kind of curious if that's, I know they must just use these same technologies in different ways.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what the freeze
I can explain it to you. So while we've got you on the screen there, that the black hole's been around. I've got the actual VST version of it. There's actually 2 modes that you'd be interested in. One is freeze, and one is called infinite, and they're kind of similar. So infinite will continuously layer a new sound on top of the suspended reverb. So you've got like a underlying suspended reverb, and then while you're in infinite mode, it'll just keep layering sounds over the top of that. Then freeze holds the effect in a stasis, allowing you to play over the reverb tail, which is really dreamy sounding.
So it's not freezing the audio coming in, it's freezing the state of the effect.
Yes. And you can...
Gotcha.
So let's get that... Just get the pedal back up over your face there. You don't forget to, when you freeze, you can actually change the way the freeze works by the feedback, the depth, the size, the lows, the highs, all of that, the gravity. So that will affect how your freeze sounds as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I think a lot of people will be playing with that. I mean, look, reverb tails are my biggest bugbear with reverbs. And it's a great little companion for a monosynth, because a lot of people complain about monosynths, how they run out of voices because they're only a monosynth, right? So get yourself a nice big reverb tail pedal like a black hole or a night sky or a big sky, and you've just fixed your monosynth dilemma. All right, we've hit the end of the news. What else have we got? We have got another segment. Oh, last week we didn't have this. You're in for a treat, everybody. You're in for a treat. Yes. There's some scams out there. I don't know if there really is. I just say that just to sort of egg you along. Right, first one. Let's have a look at this. Speaking of sequential circuits, you can get the Tom machine, the Tom drum machine, and not only is it £990, and if you're living in Cologne in Germany, you could probably pick that up locally, but you would probably need to bring a bag with you because it's in bits. And it doesn't work. At least he's honest, though. So
somebody that would probably buy that.
£990 for something that doesn't work. And I mean, look how there's actually photos. This listing is still up. Actually, there's photos of it down below. You can see. I think some of the circuit's kind of gone as well. So I don't even know how much of that being a spare part machine would be useful to anybody. Anyway, what else have we got? We have this one. What is this? Yes, you too can buy the latest ASM Hydrasynth wavetable synthesizer. Notice that it is available in Japan, which is where Hydrasynths are made, but for the crazy price of $2,380 when they are half that actual recommended retail price. So I don't know what's going on there, but that may be a slightly a scam.
Somebody at the factory. Yeah, somebody at the factory's nicked one, haven't they?
Probably.
That's what's happened there.
It does say it's working properly. That's always a good thing when you're buying something, isn't it?
It's not in
Skillful
bits.
Sailor. His name's Skillful Sailor.
It
Well,
is.
yeah. Pirate.
Pirate.
More like it.
Or a skillful escape artist after you pay him. Ah, dear. Right. What else we got? Oh, yes. Look at this one. Yes. Behringer's Ultra Shifter Harmonist US600 guitar effects pedal with deluxe detune or whatever it's called pitch. Anyway, 120 euros for a pedal that would probably only cost about 50 euros to buy brand new. So rush out and buy that one because you can hit the buy it now and spend an extra 50 euros. Oh, I'd love that.
It will post to you, by the way.
He will, yeah, he will. And then we're not talking about Will below, by the way. This is the guy here. Now, there was one from Wagyu actually sent one in. Let's get everyone up here whilst I find it. Now, you put it into... Oh, I forgot to... I don't know if I saved it or not. Did I save it? That is the $60,000 question, Mr. Wagyu. Don't tell anyone what it is. eBay. Yes, I did. Here it is. Okay. Right. Let's just do this. All right. So I'll just put it over the top of everyone. Wagyu sent this one in. The Sultan Programmer 24. The ultra rare Sultan Programmer 24 vintage Italio disco synth. And then the Google Translate has forgotten to translate the rest of that. But I could probably translate it for you anyway. But anyway, let's not worry about it. 2,800 is about 4,000 something Australian dollars. It's a lot of money for this. And we'll go in chat. You can tell us how much you think that is actually probably worth in real terms.
It looks
About
like
25
it comes
quid.
with one. Yeah, it looks like it comes with one of those really bad drum kits as well. You know, it's always bad when you get all the cymbals at the bottom. You can see all the little cymbals. You always know that that's a bad synth, don't you?
Yeah. Not only that,
It's got nice buttons though.
if you've ever been to
Yeah, it's got nice buttons.
if you've ever been to Malaysia, and I lived there, and there's this building in a city called Penang called the Komtar, which is literally like floor after floor after floor, multi-stories of tiny little, Asian electronic stores, and they all coming out into the corridors to grab you in so that you buy the latest and greatest. It reminds me of something that you'd buy from one of those shops, and then you end up buying it because it's the first time you saw it, and then you walk like three shops down, and the guy 3 shops down's got it, but he's got it $50 cheaper than the guy he just paid for. That's how it works. But hopefully you didn't pay. Yeah. So anyway, there's our scams of the week. Which was your favourite this week, ladies and gentlemen? You need a refresher?
Oh, that
All of them.
That Tom drum machine is.
Yeah.
I mean, even working, would you really want to pay that amount of money for it? You can change. There's a cartridge you can stick in the front with different sound sets, and it's quite a nice sounding box. But it's from that generation of sequential products where sequential were really sort of beginning to lose the plot a little bit after their analog synths. Espen Kraft did a really good video on it though, so maybe that's why the price has gone up.
I have a friend that has
collector
two of
might
them.
go for it.
Yeah. I have a friend that has 2 of them. We did a video together on YouTube about it. So he loves them. He loves those things.
There you go.
Not my cup of tea, but he loves them.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, someone's going to one day send me a message and saying, you know that segment that you've got, which you call scams and eBay scams? Well, I actually bought that thing that you showed. No, someone's, and I'm going to like cry for them. Wagyu said that it's about £500 for his Sultan programmer, which is a fair price. So it's probably, It's probably about 10 times the price on this thing. Just if you're wondering. Right, beautiful. Okay. Well, guess what we've reached? We've reached the pinnacle of the show, where we can say enough with all that sort of segment stuff, and we can start chatting about what we actually were supposed to chat about, and that is the big samplers. Which one is the best? Do we have a king or a queen, if you like? Let's not get too PC here. Inky, you won't get butthurt over these old-fashioned namings, will you? Right. So, who wants to start? Who wants to give us their opinion about what the best sampler is? Inky does. Right. Okay. Go.
I'm going to say, for live audio in, the Deluge.
Yeah.
Because it automatically detects, Will can confirm this because he owns one, but this is one thing I'm really jealous that the NPCs don't do, is it automatically detects the incoming audio and then you can play it. So that's really useful if you're singing into it or if you're doing anything. It's like having a pedal that does that. I've got a pedal that does that, but it does it with all audio. And that's a really great live feature. I know it's not technically sampling, but it kind of is. It's just live sampling, isn't it?
I think the Deluge is definitely out there, isn't it?
Yeah, but then the way you edit the samples would do my head in.
Yeah.
I like my touchscreen for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, next person? Will's got both of them.
Well, let's hear a comment from Will, because you've just dropped the Deluge as the first. So, and Will's got one. We've also got Marcus in the chat as well that we know's got one. Over to you, Will. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I've got the Deluge, and I've actually got a Force. I've got an X, and I've got an MPC 2000 XL. I got this Alessi's VHS tape recorder. I've got a lot of samplers. I got a lot of things that will record audio, but you got to think about what the use is. If I am chopping samples, if I am using it as a way to make pattern-based music, but I'm using other people's samples, then I probably want an MPC-X or an MPC Live. So if what I'm doing is a little more fun, upbeat, things like that, where I don't need to be so precise, then maybe the Force, because you don't have manual chop, and you don't have the same kind of structure that you do in an MPC-X. You've got more like an Ableton feel, clip-based type stuff. The Deluge, though, it's just different. It's kind of, I wouldn't even know what to compare it to outside of music, as far as like, electronic compared to another electronic, but it's the kind of thing that you really don't expect that it will actually change the way you do things the way it does. You don't expect it. And then when it happens, you're just looking at your other equipment like, wow, I do love you guys, but this thing does everything you do, but it does it quicker and it does it easier. And there's a lot less troubleshooting and a lot less. So yeah, there's no touch screen. But if let's say you're in a live situation, do you want to be looking at something, or do you want to just be moving within your muscle memory? So with the Deluge, you've got all these, button pad shortcuts that are all. So all of these buttons all have a shortcut assigned to it. And so all you're doing is holding shift and touching one of the buttons, and it takes you into a parameter really quickly. All of your visual feedback, your touch screen, is the pads itself. It displays an image of a waveform. You can slice and do things like that. You can slice, you can chop, you can do, like Lisa was saying, you can do audio in. You can I mean, there's MIDI. We also have CV. So we've got 2 separate CV outputs, 4 gates. We also have a sync input. We've got MIDI out, MIDI in. We've got 2 separate microphone inputs. We've got the 3.5 millimeter input, and we've got the 1/4 inch input. We've got a selectable button for like the audio gain, I guess you would call it. There's a low switch and a high switch. So on an MPCX, you've got 4 inputs. You've got a stereo set, 3 and 4, and then 1 and 2 can be used together or as separate. On the X, you've got 8 outputs. On the Deluge, you've got 2. So on the Force, you've got 2 inputs. You've got 2 outputs. So really, for me, it's about everyday practical use. And I will take this thing with my modular, and I will actually bring my small little battery bank. I'll bring this thing with me, and I'll plug my modular into this. And my Deluge is battery powered. So I'm off in town with my modular and my Deluge, and I'm actually able to sample the incoming audio from the modular and integrate it immediately into my live performances, productions, or whatever. So I can use the incoming audio as a source for modulation, or I can have the audio not coming through to the feed. It can just be only me hearing it. So there's just a lot of flexibility with it when you're talking about using it with other equipment. I think that the X and the Live and the Force can be a great companion for anybody's studio. But I've said this before, and it doesn't mean that I don't love all the other stuff. But if I'm running out of here in a fire and I got to grab one piece of equipment, I'm grabbing the Deluge. And I'm an MPC guy, so it's not easy for me to say that.
Oh, there you go.
Can I just respond to 2 things that Will said there? The first one is, it's a pity we don't have chop via pad on the Force, because it's missing deliberately. It could be implemented so easy, and we still haven't got mapping to MIDI, like a MIDI XL like have on the MPC. I don't get that. The second thing is the Deluge. I don't really like linear workflows like Logic. I've discovered I quite like looping, but the main reason Will loves it is the one reason I don't own it is that my brain can't learn that amount of shortcuts. I find it difficult on a circuit. That's the only reason I haven't got one, Will, is because if I'm working in the dark, I won't remember those shortcuts, I don't think. But you're right, it's a wicked little piece of device. It's massive for a small device, isn't it? What it can do.
Well, if I have to stop to look at the thing I'm doing, then I'm already missed my transition. So I can't question whether I'm on the right field. If I have to tap the screen, do I have to make sure I'm in the right place? I just need to know. I can be looking over here at the feed, and I can be doing this, and then setting something up for the next thing. So it's got to be that way. And my eyes.
That's the problem I have with the Force. I don't have those with the MPCs, because before I even got them, I'd watched their videos, and I'd never used an MPC or got the workflow. But for me, the MPC workflow really works for me. But I'm still at that looking and missing that second delay. So I've missed my cue point on the Force. I can't use the Force live yet because I'm still kind of scratching my head going, think where you've got to go next.
Right.
So, yeah, I get what you're saying. And I'd like to get my hands on Deluge to see if I could actually pick it up. But
I think you could, Lisa. You could. A lot of people might have a problem with the Deluge, but I think you could do it.
You have tried to be persuaded me so many times. We've had chats where you're going, you'd love it, you've got to get one, and I'm like, no, I'm not sure, mate. So
well, I never
see.
would tell someone, you know, you got to have this or whatever. It's just, this is just my opinion. I mean, I love them all.
No, you was like really enthusiastic. You was only looking after me, really. He was like,
I think it can really help, you know, some people in live ways. Like I said, if you get into something and it's doing things that you weren't expecting, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. Hey, so what I like about that is I think I mean I've watched you in action because you do your live streams, and you know you don't edit your videos. You just basically, here I am, and I'm just gonna start twiddling some knobs and hitting some samples, and one of the things I watched you do recently is you got like a beat going on the Deluge, right? And then you use the Deluge to make your beat, and then you got your MPC-X out to slice that beat up. So you're using some gear to go into others, and then once you slice the beat up, then I think you went back into the Deluge again to resample it.
I'm so glad you caught that. I'm so glad, Rand. Thank you for watching that. I very much appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. This is a unique workflow. This is probably not something you see all the time. I use one piece of equipment. So somebody mentioned to me in a comment yesterday on my channel that I have a lot of options as far as, you know, brains. And I just said to him, you know, the way I have things routed is actually allows the whole studio to be the brain, because I've got things synced up and wired up in a way that all the audio comes to my mixer first. So that way, I've got like 16 different mix outputs on this mixer. So I'm running separate stereo mixes to my X, to my Force, to my Deluge, to my MPC 2000. So in real time, I'm able to build these, you know, whatever you want to call them, I don't know, build these sound elements. And yes, when I get something going on a piece of equipment, I can immediately jump over to my mixer, slide up a couple faders to send it to the X, the audio, and then I'll chop it in real time. And then I will shut the clips off quantized so that when those clips end, I'm playing on the pads with no delay. So there's just kind of a synchronized effect of the clips stopping playback and then me starting to play them manually on the chops. And so once I get something recorded there, then I'll jump back over to something else. And so it's kind of just like this, you know, going from one thing to another, just in your creative vibe. That's really, you know, and so I appreciate you catching that. A lot of people don't catch that.
I think one of the other things that you do also, which I mean I do, and it's not common. So is that you're into Eurorack, and we actually got you on the show for our first new to Eurorack episode. We actually did our second one last week, which is awesome. I actually really enjoy doing those new to Eurorack shows because we do get people coming on to the channel, whether they watch it live or whether they come on later on and make a comment. But there's people that actually are kind of, you know, they're timid about Eurorack, and so they want to hear what our opinions are. And I still think I'm a bit of a noob. But Will, you what you're doing with your Eurorack is you're actually, you know, you're making a patch in Eurorack, and then immediately you're sampling that into one. It doesn't necessarily need to be the Deluge, but you're usually doing it into the Deluge. But you're immediately patching it straight into the sampler, and then you're manipulating that in either some sort of cut up sample. Actually, it doesn't really matter how you manipulate it. It's just the fact that the Eurorack patch doesn't have to die the moment that you unplug those patch cables, right? So, which I think is one of the biggest benefits of samplers in modern music tech, because now we're heading down that Eurorack route, and we're also heading down the sampler route. Let's use the two together as powerful tools.
I was actually doing some experimentation yesterday, trying to see if I have any gear that will sample CV.
Right.
So I was just trying to see what I could do. my Force does not have DC coupled inputs. Neither does the X.
Mhm.
At least that's what I've found. I couldn't properly record the CV. I tried recording it on the Bitbox. It doesn't work. It does have DC coupled outputs, but not DC coupled inputs. So the next thing is to try it on the Deluge. I haven't tried it yet. But to be able to throw together organic sounds in real time and sample them and play around with them, it's soothing. It's relaxing. It's meditative. And so that's mostly what I'm here for, is to just enjoy sound design, and then sometimes I'll throw a beat on it, and just with my drum kit I'm learning, just do whatever you can just to get what's in your mind out, and just to try to stay positive in these crazy times.
Yeah.
So
in
do any live streams?
I just thought I'd mention, while you're talking about sampling CV, there are some options for you there. So maybe check out. I'm not a massive big knowledge bank of Eurorack, because I'm a noob. Just let's get that out there but just because I'm sort of heading down similar paths to you, Will. So one of the things I've been checking out just recently was the Expert Sleepers module, and I think it's the ES9 is the one I'm looking at getting, and there's a few different versions. So the number 9 is just the more inputs versus, but they're DC coupled, and if you use VCV Rack and you can use a bit of computer with it as well, then you can actually sample or sequence incoming CV, where it's just kind of the opposite to the way the Force works. So you're actually sequencing outgoing CV. So that may be of use to you. And I also believe Mega Mark in the chat has just mentioned maybe the Polyend might be able to do it, but he can't.
Yeah, don't the Polyend
remember.
presets do that?
Yeah. So that I don't know myself. So that's something that you guys. Have you got a Polyend, Darren?
No, but don't the Polyend presets do that?
I don't know.
The presets module.
Whoever's got a Polyend, let us know. So someone in the chat, don't forget there's usually about a 10-second delay before the chat hears what we say. Yeah, let us know in chat if you do know about the Polyend, or just maybe Google it while we're there.
I think the module presets does it. Polyend presets module, if I remember rightly.
Yeah,
not 100% sure, but I'm sure
they're still talking about it. Okay, cool. But yeah, Will, that's why we network. Do you know what I mean? In the music world, that's why we network, because that's how you find stuff out. Okay, right. Well, that was awesome, Will. Your insight in that.
One more thing about these different sampler makes, real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want to say this one last thing, and I think that this is kind of overlooked sometimes. Is I talked earlier about Strymon, about how they're kind of a mom and pops type vibe. At least that's how I see it. When it comes to these manufacturers, when you have a company that listens to not only the market itself, but they're listening to the customers that have already purchased, they're not listening to what they think the next move should be. They're listening to the people that have purchased these pieces of their equipment. Synthstrom, the company that makes Synthstrom Audible, the company that makes this Deluge, they are amazing when it comes to their community. They are constantly updating features. They're constantly pushing what's possible. And you're actually seeing a lot of the stuff that they're doing coming in other equipment now. So I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to start to see things that you hate about the Deluge in other things, because it works.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, while you mentioned that, I just think we quickly mentioned that one of the guys that comes onto the show quite regularly is Andrew. Is another Australian that comes on. He's also got a Synthstrom Deluge, and he actually knows quite well the New Zealand developer. So, yeah, absolutely echo those comments.
We can all message them. It's incredible. Like, I have a problem, I message them on Messenger, and they'll message me right back. It's incredible.
Yeah,
like to have that kind of access to the makers.
It feels warm. It feels like you haven't got something cold in front of you. If you've got something, okay, cool. This is a problem I've come up with. Do you guys think maybe you could fix it? And then before you know it, like, there's a whole bunch of people saying, yeah, that's a great idea. We should do this. And before you know it, he's released a an update to the firmware. That's kind of how it's been working. So yeah, brilliant. Inky likes that sort of stuff. I know she does because it's a warm development environment, unlike the Force.
She's mad. She's mad at Akai.
I've followed these guys since pretty much. Yeah, I've seen how much they've updated it and how they've got. Hasn't it got disc streaming? Has it got disc streaming? Will?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does.
It's one of the only things I know that's got disc streaming, and I'm still scratching my head, going, well, why haven't we got that on pretty much everything?
Well, some of the
Do you know
older
what I mean?
Akai stuff does. The Roland SP404 does. So there's a few things out there.
Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, why hasn't the new Akai stuff got it?
Right.
But I've been watching the update and the guys who run this company. As I say, the only reason I don't own a Deluge, because I would have got it instead of the Force, is the shortcuts and mainly that it's linear. And that's why I gave up Logic. I don't really like... But the more I've looked at it, it's less linear than I think. But
Yeah.
I think
the
they
only
are
one
the
I've heard
best
say
company.
that.
I don't think it has to be
Well,
linear.
no. I'll tell you why. If you look up, Gaz Williams has done 2 interviews with him at NAMM, I think, or NobCon, or somewhere like that. And in one of those interviews, he said we couldn't find a standalone machine that worked in a linear fashion, so we designed one. So that's where I've got that from him, from the man himself. That's the reason I believe it works like that, because they said they developed it because they couldn't find one themselves. So, I mean, if I've got that wrong, blame him. But I have followed these guys.
You definitely got it right. I just think it doesn't have to be.
It goes left to right.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
have
a clip,
to be, though.
though.
Yeah.
Look, watch this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Very good. It'd probably work. That would probably work better for me.
Now
mate.
it's
What would you call that? Is that called vertical or columnular?
Now you're going up.
that's
Hurry
clip
up.
based.
I mean,
There you go.
Hey, watch out!
an inversion.
Yes.
Watch out, Will. The electrons will fill out the bottom of it. Be careful. Okay, so now they're going the other way. Quick! The universe is going to implode.
now it's going up.
All right, I want to get let's go with Darren now, because Darren's got some old school samplers in his world, and he's a big computer guy.
Yeah.
So let's hear your opinion on samplers and what you think the big king is.
I think the big king of samplers is the one that works for you, because I don't do any live type stuff. So the Force,
You wish you'd
Deluge, and
dodged it.
things, I have. It's true though, isn't it? It depends on how you work as to what's your best sampler. I mean, I've got the Akai S3000 XL, 900, and the 01, and in the day they were great. But I'm basically using all my sampling from the computer, which is my best sampler, and that works for me. If I was to play live, then probably not. I would have to be looking at something like a Deluge or the Force. So I'm going to sort of skip as in to say which is the best. I'm just going to say the best is what works for you and helps you create whatever you want to create. How about
I
that?
agree with that.
So in summary, you're saying the best for you is the computer, because that's, you're not doing it in a live environment.
Yeah. I'm not in a live environment. I'll do it a bit like Will, I think, because I collect all my sounds and everything goes through the mixer into the computer, and then I, a bit like Will does on the Deluge, I'll mix it and chop it and whatever to it and create a track out of what I've sort of sampled into the computer. So in a way, it's my sampler,
Yeah. Now,
which for a lot of people is.
if you were to go live though, Darren, so this is probably where your little argument there is good. But if you were to go live, what would you use? And you were sort of shying off using a computer. What would you use?
What would I use? I'd probably be leaning towards the Force because it's very Ableton styled.
Mhm.
So I'd probably be thinking of the Force, but I'd have to look at the Deluge. But I'm a bit like Inky on the. I don't know. I'm not so good if there's loads of flashing lights at me, and all those pads have got a shift, and like each one does something. It's going to take some learning, I think, but it'd be one of those two. I think them seem to be the ones in my ballpark if I was to go live.
All right, so there's the Deluge.
I need glasses.
Right. And
definitely
Darren.
muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what worries me, Darren. Is like if I'm in the dark and I can't kind of read that, then I'm scuppered.
Yeah, you see, this is the only problem, and it'd have to be definitely muscle memory. I'd have to literally, like I say, the Force, because it's going to be very Ableton-like.
Yeah. And don't forget, there's other players here, like the Octatrack.
No, I'm not saying they're not good, but I've never had I'm probably with Inky on this one.
Listen, I can send you actually, rather than buying or looking at getting gas for new gear, I've been getting to learn my digitone, but I'd happily send it you to see if you'd like it, because there's no way I'd touch an Octatrack. I mean, it's too much.
I bet
it's good for live performing. What you've done would be good because it's quite good at that.
I'm just touching an Octatrack right now.
But actually programming it and making anything up, it's like a tracker. For me, it's not fun. It's more like science or soldering or fixing. It's not playing. It's not immediate. It's too much thinking, mate. Yeah, no.
Don't agree with you there, but anyway, that's all right.
It's workflow. You get it.
You see,
you like fixing things. You like fixing things and soldering things, and I don't. I don't want to fix things. I want to press a button, and it makes a sound, and then I don't have to think. I press record, and then if I don't like it, I press undo, and that's how I work. Fast. If any part of my brain is thinking, my music's going to be terrible. I've tried it. I've tried it for years. It don't work.
I'm with Inky here in a slightly different way. I have that many ideas that I want to get out. I don't want to sit there learning new stuff. I'm sort of comfortable as I am at the moment, and no.
I think you're on your own here, Rans.
Look, I'm not. Yeah. I'm not gonna give my opinion just yet, but it's obviously in my studio for a reason. No, it's good, Darren, what you said. Now, Darren, before I go to Andy, I do want to ask you about your vintage samplers that you've got there. Tell us how long you've had them for, and tell us whether you still use them and why. If and why.
Yes and no. I've got. Let's have a look. The Akai S950. I've not used since I got it, and that's got to be, I don't know, 18, 20 years ago. The 3000 XL I have used, but not recently. The surprising one that I have used, and it wasn't all that long ago, was the S01. Really simple sampler. Basically just put single samples into it. But it's great for drums. And it's really, the trigger on it is brilliant.
Yep.
So I would say, yeah, I used that this year. I won't tell you on what track, but you'll have to go back and see if you can find out which track I used it on. But yeah, I used the S01 this year. They're a bit hard. It's something, it's hard to get around. They're not like the modern day samplers, but they have that sort of sound to them.
Yep. All right, cool. Now, a couple of people, just quickly before anyone sort of gets angry and starts throwing their synths at the screen, we're not going to talk about the MC707 or the MC101 just yet, because I want to actually get Andy's opinion first, and then when you get to me, you'll hear about the MCs. So hold your breath for that. But without further ado, I actually do want to get Andy's opinion, because Andy's got some samplers there. Now, Andy, I've purposely left you to talk about the even though I've got one as well, but purposely left you to talk about the Electro sampler, because I actually do think, well, I should call it the Electro 2 sampler because it's more correct. And I also, of course, want to hear your opinions about some of the more vintage stuff, and you can see one behind your head there as well. So off you go, bud.
Yep. Right, yes. My head is in a spin now with all that stuff about deluges and and forces and what does this and chopping that and splicing this, and I think, oh my lord, I'm help! I haven't got a clue. So I'll a bit like Inky. I want things pretty simple. Now the Electribe sampler is pretty straightforward, and it's it does what it says on the tin. I mean, there might be other things that do it quicker and perhaps more efficiently and with more memory and with all this, but you can get sounds into it, you can stick them on the pads and play them back, and that's really quite nice. And I've enjoyed doing them. I bought it because I wanted to throw in sort of little bits of speech and sound effects and that sort of thing over the tracks that I was doing on the Electribe synth here. So I built up some tracks on these, and I thought, oh, it'd be nice if I could put some samples like that, and started doing that, and it worked. It handled it great. There are some funny quirks about it which irritate me, like it's sometimes quite difficult to make it not play the whole sample from beginning to end when you hit a pad, so that it responds more like a key on, key off, rather than just the play the whole thing, which it can be done, but sometimes I'm thinking, now how did I do that again? What was the way to do it? The new style of samplers, what is a sampler these days? Is it just not all a glorified hard disk recorder, as some of them seem to be, all very complex, and you can record huge amounts for huge amounts of time and play a great big chunks back? And see, behind me now, over my shoulder, my very, very much loved Roland W30, 0.5 meg of memory, 30 seconds maximum sampling time at the lowest sample rate of 15 kilohertz, and it's crunchy and grainy, but I knew that thing like the back of my hand. I knew my way around it, but it was a different way. I was using it as a sound creating device, rather than sort of for trying to make nice, intricate, drum and bass loops and also, which I suppose you could do, but it would be you'd have to get really analytical with it. It would take a long time. But for me, that thing stays there. It stays. I've still got it because it just sounds lovely. It just sounds lovely. You make a sample, you start playing it back from the keyboard, and instantly you can be playing it high, low, middle, chords, this, that, and the other, and it's just nice. The full sample editing on it is actually quite easy to do. I mean, you might have seen in the chat I mentioned the Roland S550 sample. I mean, Darren's talked about these. Got the S9 950 from Akai and that sort of series. Well, I had the Roland S550, which was basically it's two W30s in a box, and I bought that basically for live use. And that you had to, in order to use that properly, you had to have a computer monitor linked up to it, an RGB monitor, is that what they were called? And it was, that one was a proper ball ache. But I used to just do all my sampling on the W30, then port them across to the S550 for live use. So I wasn't having to load discs halfway through a set. But of course, I'm about to take the plunge. In fact, the plunge might be taken next week if Gear for Music have got any left in. I've been watching the numbers of MPC ones going down and down and down, and I think there's 2 left last time I looked. So I think next week when I get paid, I'm going to go, yes, now's the time. I'm going to get it. So then I will be entering this modern world.
None left.
And I've told myself. Have they got none left now? Have they all gone?
They've only got a nearly new one left. So
yeah, I saw that one. They've only got the nearly. Well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if I have to wait another week, it's fine. But I've decided that money can sit there no longer. It's burnt too big a hole already, and I'm going to take the jump. But when I do, I must commit to learning to use that device properly, inside out. I must spend the time, because I mean, I buy things. I go, oh yeah, this is great, yeah, and then I don't use it. I mean, like even things like the Volkers up here, I've never really got to the bottom of those things, and they're not that complicated. I mean, because I never spent the time with them. They're just nice little sound boxes to me. But I must, if I buy the MPC one, I must get to the very bottom of it and make it work for me. But then again, you've got to put me in a whir, because I'm now thinking perhaps the Deluge might be better. You're very naughty, Inky, for that. I've used the word naughty 3 times on this stream. I've got to find another word for today. Right. Sorry, Inky, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you want to know anything about like MPCs, MPC heads, or watch all his videos, then watch Tube Digger, and then we always had a real problem with live sampling, and Tube Digger did a video on it, and Will rang me the next day and he went, but I've found the answer. He's missing something. And Will has done a brilliant video. I'll try and find it and send it you. How you can use it as a live sampler. Basically, you're triggering the pads before they've got samples on, and then just adding the samples. So, hats off to Will for finding out that, because before that, it wasn't live. We couldn't use it as a live sampler. So I remember that Ivan got very, very excited.
EyeWill Looper. You'll find it.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the best videos, amount of videos, because Tube Digger came out with how to do it, a way around it, but it was still clunky. It still wasn't live, and we were having a chat, weren't we, Will? And I think he went away and thought about it, and next thing he said, I've fixed it and released a video, which has saved all our lives. So thanks, Will.
Nobody's come up with a better way that I've seen.
There isn't a better way. And nobody's ever done it either. You're the only person ever to do that.
I'm surprised Akai didn't at least give me a little pat on the back or something. I totally destroyed their developers in one shot. But
I think they need to give you a job, or because you've found a way that they didn't even show us.
I want to go back to Andy.
It's alive.
Just before we sort of go on too much about that, because I think it's awesome. But I want to go back to Andy because Andy, I mean, one of the things you mentioned was when you're using the W30, the fact that it's got the keyboard stuck to it. And this is a thing, right? I'm going to talk about this a little bit when I have my go, but this is a thing. I just want to hear you mentioned it briefly, but just tell us a little bit more about that. Like you're pulling a sample into the W30 and then immediately you're pitching it across the notes. Just explain that a little bit, because we look at all these boxes that we've just talked about and none of them have got a keyboard attached to them, do they? You've got to plug something into them, right?
Yeah, true. I think I'll have to think back again now. When you actually put it into sample mode and you sample something, it goes, let's say for the sake of argument, it goes immediately onto the C3 key, so like your middle C. And once you've sampled it, you could immediately just play. It's there, and you can play that sample. And obviously, it gets longer the further down the keyboard you go, and it gets shorter the further up you go as it's changing the playback speed of the sample. You can that is at its very barest, rawest sort of level. Once you start then to edit it, or you want to loop it, you want to put filters on it, or a sensible envelope on it. So you hit the key and you take your hands off the key and it continues to play like with a nice
release. Yeah.
then it becomes like its own tone.
Yeah.
And you can then obviously you can then decide which key you want it to start on. You can tell it which key. So it's quite quick to get lots and lots of samples in, but then you can create a multi-sample by assigning different samples to different keys or different key ranges, and then that becomes like I've forgotten the sort of terminology for it now. Does that become a Is that called a preset or something like that? Anyway, it becomes its own sound with whatever samples you've put into it.
So you can play it
then
polyphonically and chromatically, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's 16 note. It's 16 note polyphonic. The W30, which was as many as I ever needed when I was using it. I never ran out of polyphony on it. But yeah, you're right about that. It's that immediate. As soon as the sound's in, you can play it on the keyboard immediately without any faffing about. It's raw. It's just note on, note off, and that's that's it. But then once you get into sort of the editing of the sounds, but actually the W30 was pretty quick. It's got quite a nice big display. You get a nice graphic waveform display. The looping function is hard work. You end up scrolling through all these different numbers. I mean, there is a way to do it digitally on the screen, but the screen takes ages to scroll to bits. But often you just do it by ear and you get to it. The auto looping functions work sometimes. So it's actually been a long time since I actually did any sampling on it. I've only when I've actually dug it out and switched it on, I've only sort of loaded the samples which I took years and years and years ago. So perhaps I should get back into it. So
if you do get the MPC,
a lovely machine.
I think you'll probably find that if you do get the MPC, you'll end up probably pulling what you've got on the W30 into your MPC. Somehow.
Actually, that's my plan.
Yeah,
that auto sampling thing.
Oh, it's amazing
on the MPC. So I'll set the W30 up.
It's incredible.
Even with it's just single sample sound spread across a keyboard.
Yeah.
But then get the MPC to multi-sample it at sort of half octaves or whatever.
All right.
Yeah, that is absolutely what I want to do to get my W30 library back into. Oh yes, I am definitely back into the modern age. In fact, it was that feature more than any other on the MPC that made me go,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, you just go right, go.
But
and it
honestly,
does it.
wait till you see the MIDI routing on it. Then you'll just you'll be close.
That was the other thing as well.
You'll be barricading yourself in the front door. All right, now we're going to move on. We're gonna go to me in a sec, but quickly for the chatties, I want you guys in the chat to flag my name. Just go @Ramsey because it'll show up. It'll highlight for me, so it's easier for me to read. Let us know what you think. I know you guys have already had your comments, and it's all scrolling past, and you're all chatting about it. But just if you want me to mention you, and I can put it down below, like you can see the comment there from last week or the week before from JX3D. Let us know in the chat what you think your go-to sampler is and why. One of the comments that I saw, it was a while ago, and that is if you're going to say computer, maybe mention what DAW you're using, because technically the computer is not really a sampler until it's got some sort of software on it that samples, right? And usually musicians will use a DAW, so that will probably be what you're talking about. So there's that. Okay, now. I think I'll have a little crack at this. I think I've been thinking about this for probably a while actually. And one of the reasons I've been thinking about it is not because someone brought it up, which it did actually happen, but because I sit there all day long with just in front of me. I've got three like in your face hardware samplers. I've got the Force, the MPC, and the Octatrack. And I use all three of them. And I use all three of them for different reasons. But do I need all three of them? The answer is no. Why the hell do I have all three of them? Because I want to. So shut up. Look, I just, it doesn't necessarily mean Ramsey's going to recommend buying an Octatrack or Ramsey's going to recommend buying a Force. My sort of answer is similar to what everyone else has said. Like Darren, for example, said, get what you feel is obviously the best, but and that will be different, and it'll be to do with workflow. So if you're going to mention a PC or a Mac is your go-to sampler, the workflow is going to be what it is that actually makes you think that works for you. Like Inky was going to great pains to say to everyone that she almost bought a Deluge, but the reason why she didn't is she sort of was a bit fearful about the linear workflow on it, and maybe the shortcuts. So workflow is really, really important for samplers especially, and that is because when we're actually in that creative space, we don't want to be feeling like a programmer. We want to be feeling like a musician. And some of these devices will still make you feel like a programmer, and you aren't really ever getting to that creative space, even if you've programmatically laid down a sequence and you've just hit play. That still doesn't feel creative. It sounds awesome, but it doesn't feel creative. Do you know what I mean? So it's got to have some sort of, I think it's got to have some sort of organic connection to, whether it's tactile, whether it's the way the GUI works or whatever, but it's got to have something. And sometimes you guys might find that you will never find the perfect holy grail sampler. And that may be me. I don't know. I definitely think Akai have got very close. And I'll give you an example. So I've had a sampler for a long time. I've had obviously the ones we've talked about before, but one of the ones I've had for a long time is this one, the Korg M3, which is a digital synthesizer. Andy, this is one of the reasons why I got you to talk about your W30, is because this is like a polyphonic digital synth, but at the same time, it's actually got a very big sampling section in it, and the sampling section is actually quite good, I would say, in the sense that you can create chromatic patches and layering and all sorts of stuff, editing of the samples. It's got a touch screen, and it was not that old. I mean, we're talking 13 years old technology. It's not too bad. What I never ever sort of got to love about it was I just didn't think the tone was right. So it just didn't have, I don't know, there was something about the tone. It just always sounded a little bit clinical to me. So maybe Korg, they've, in the back end of the scene, they had a computer or whatever it was. It's digital or audio converters in it weren't that good. I don't know. But there was just something clinical about it. And obviously when you actually do make your samples too, it became a little bit forced. So sometimes you couldn't quite get them exactly where you wanted at the start and the end and things, just some annoyances like that. So I still got it and I still use it every now and then, but I don't ever use it as a sampler because I've got better things. But one thing I do miss about it is what I mentioned before, and that is once you do pull the sample in straight away, you're playing that sample as a polyphonic sample, and that's awesome fun. I mean, it's not something you do every day, but that brings you back to the Fairlight days. Do you know what I mean? So that's something that a lot of these things don't have out of the box. But when I say that, people are throwing their synths at the screen saying, why are you saying that? Like, you've got an MPC. You should know that you can plug a MIDI controller into it and all of a sudden you can start playing your samples like a polyphonic keyboard. Well, of course you can, but out of the box. It doesn't have a keyboard, it's got pads. Yes, you can put your fingers over your pads. Let's not split hairs. It's not the same as playing a keyboard, okay? That's what I'm saying. Going like that, like a claw on a pad, is not the same as playing keyboards, right? Let's not argue. Okay.
Unless you can't play keyboard.
Unless you can't play keyboard, then, go away. Okay. Now, I did promise I would mention... I did promise I would mention...
Can I just add something before we go away from the MPCs and Force? Two of you own both machines.
Yep.
And I discovered something very interesting the other day. Now, I need you to check this out. So when you're sampling on the Force, you seem to be limited to a very short sampling time. Right? And it's not the cards, because I've got the same cards in all of them. You seem to be limited to a very short sampling time. And you're forced to put a longer sample as an audio clip. Whereas on the MPC, I can literally sample a track and then put it as a sample so I can chromatically play it instantly. Now...
What do you consider short, Inky? How short is a short sample?
Hold on. I'd have to go in. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it's the way you set your clips up.
Yeah, we have some short ones.
No, here it says 5 seconds, right? And if I try and tap, I can turn it up. Oh, okay. But I'm sure it's limited.
That's a long sample.
It is limited, but it's
lifetime on the SO1.
It's based on how you set your project up. It is limited. It definitely is easier to do what you're saying, Inky, on an MPC. And I believe it is something that they're going to fix in the new firmware. It's not
Right, okay.
It's not limiting in terms of what it can sample, but it's limiting in terms of the way
Well-
the GUI works.
It's just on my MPC. It's set up so I can like have 10 minutes of sampling. So if I want to sample a track and warp it and play it as an instrument with a keyboard, that's possible.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that's possible on the Force at the moment.
I don't think you can. I think it just definitely is limited. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
well, there shouldn't be a reason for that. They've all got the same memory in.
That is correct. There isn't
So-
a reason. There isn't a reason other than the fact that they never finished the firmware, and we won't go there because we know it's true. They never finished the friggin' firmware. And hurry up, Akai, and finish your firmware on Force, because there's 3 people in this here that own the Force, and we're waiting on your beta that's been out for months and months and months. What is it? 3.
Isn't a 10-minute
5 or
sample
something?
just? So isn't a 10-minute sample just hard disk recording though? I mean, what's
No.
the difference?
What I'm saying, what I'm saying, Andrew, is if
It's
I wanted
different.
to clip, if I wanted to kind of take a section of a song and play it as an instrument, and then, or just long sound samples.
Inky Karmas in the chat is saying on the Force, if you touch the max length, you can change it with the main knob.
Yeah, I'm doing that now, but for some reason the other day...
And he's saying that he just set his to 12 minutes. And I know you can, it's just
Oh,
it's
okay.
the GUI. It's just the GUI.
Okay, right, thanks. But I couldn't yet do it the other day, so I got really annoyed. So So thank you. I seem
right.
to be proving
Not to force
myself
him,
wrong at the
Pablo.
moment, looking at it.
Let's go back to where we were going. So we were here, right? And we can't ignore that Roland have been bringing out. I mean, obviously we talked about the W30 before. Roland have been bringing out samplers for a long time, and the latest and greatest samplers that they've got now are these new MC707. Obviously, the little baby version, the MC101. I didn't promise that I'd talk about this. I don't own one. I don't think I'd ever own one, not because I don't like them, but I just think they're overpriced, and I can't operate a tiny little screen like that above those
It's
little
not a
C
topic
controllers.
screen.
I just think they've missed the boat on a few things with this, but this could have been great, this product. This could have been really, really, really good. It's got some really fantastic things about it that I absolutely... Like, it's so close to buying one. If someone ever sold me one cheap, I'd snap it up. It's just at the retail price they
If they
want.
move
for
those
this.
buttons at the top and put the screen a full size from there up to the MC sign, that'd be better.
Yeah, even that. Or even just make it a bit longer like they did with the Akai Force. But, look, okay, what's great about this is it's got the full Zen core in it. So you've got that, all those new synths that Roland are bringing out, the Jupiter X's and all that. It's got the same synth engine in it as that. And that actually is really powerful. It's actually quite a good sampler. It's a really good quality sampler. I don't know a massive amount about this product like some people who are in the chat who have actually got one. But, people may tell us that this does streaming. I don't know. People may tell us that there's unlimited samples on this. I don't know. That sort of stuff I have no idea about. In terms of actually playing this live, this is where I think this product has one advantage. This is actually quite a good thing to play live. It's actually got a nice little workflow about it. And I think like I said before, the only thing that kind of lets it down is that screen. But I think that's probably Roland's done that on purpose. The screen is not really something that you're supposed to use it's kind of, Darren, if you kind of think about the TR8, the first, the TR8, the first one.
Yeah.
It kind of has a bit of its hallmarks in it.
At the side of it.
With the way the performance works on this. So a lot of people do swear by this, saying it's actually a really good performance machine. Now, that's one thing I was saying before, is like there are kind of 2 types of samplers. There's that like logic mode programming type sampler. Maybe the Octatrack's that. I don't know. Some people would agree with that. And there's samplers that are more like a performing sampler like the Deluge. And this is a very good performing sampler. Probably the MPC Live as well. So I definitely think that's one that we should not discount just because we don't have one. Now, guys...
So you didn't say the Force then?
I will say the Force in a sec. Guys, I just want, while we're talking about the Roland stuff, the MC707, any of you here at all ever interested in getting one of those? And if not, why not? Or if so, when and why?
I'd love to have a go on one. I think it's performance-wise, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
The problem is it's limited to 8 tracks. But what I didn't know is if you have a synth on one track, each clip of that track can have a different synth.
Mm.
So I assumed that, like on the Force, if you've got a synth, you can't change to a different synth.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, the track is not
Or
multi-timbral. Yeah.
You can't change to a different preset or set that you've done.
Yeah.
Whereas on the MC707, if you've got your track, each of those clips can be a different synth engine. And I thought, well, that does, because it was the 8 tracks limited thing, that I thought, well, that's not enough. Not enough for a set where you want things to be interesting. But the fact that you can change the synths, that's kind of cool. But it's a price. I mean, if I can find one secondhand,
yeah.
I mean, when you're looking at the price and what you can get from that price, you're just going to get an MPC, aren't you?
Well, that's it.
You are.
I mean, in a heartbeat, if that MC707 was cheaper, I would get rid of my TR8 and swap it with an MC707 in a heartbeat, because I know it'll do everything the TR8 does without even a blink and a whole lot more. So yeah, look, it's really, really close, but it's no cigar. And I think there's just a few things, like you were saying, Icky, the track limitation is a bit of an issue, but it's not a major issue. I mean, in my case, it's not, because I've got plenty of other gear that I can make tracks on. Do you know what I mean? So it's not the end of the world. It's just a limitation that we can pick on, isn't it?
Well, no, because the problem is this is a groove box, and the idea of a groove box is that you can take it out and perform on it. You don't want to take your whole studio out. That's why I'm hoping the Force, I can get to grips with the Force rather than taking half the studio out. I don't want to read. I mean, it'll look good, but I'll be, the reality is, you're Billy No Mates driving your car. So you got to take someone with you to watch your car and your gear while you trundle in, taking each piece of equipment.
Yep.
I've been there. I've done it with decks and records and stuff. And I don't really want to go there. I mean, I'm looking for that one box.
It definitely needed to have more grunt. I absolutely agree. Okay, so I do want to keep going because I did have more. All right, so one of the other things that I own, and we kind of briefly talked about it, is this thing, the Force. We have talked about it. It's not like we've ignored it. So why is this so different to this, and why do I have both? Well, for me, the reasons for this are going to be different for everyone. Now, luckily, we've got 3 people here on the show, on the video side, that will be able to give their opinions. But for me, the ability to have something where I can lay my Eurorack stuff in a really, really quick clip-based format, the Force is perfect, even without the new firmware, right? The Force, as it is right now, it's perfect. It does exactly what I want it to do. It syncs up to the tempo. Everything's perfect. I can just make a Eurorack patch, bang it into a clip, and it's done. And that for me is, yes, I can do it on a computer. Yes, I can do it probably in a different way in Ableton. Yes, I can do it in a different way on the MPC. But the way the Force is, we were talking before about the user interface, the way it's set up, it's perfect. It works like a little mini DAW. It's got a little mixer. It's got, everything about it. It just makes sense. So that is why I got the Force, and it's doing its job. Why I've got the MPC Live is purely as a sequencer and a sampler. And I absolutely love the MIDI routing now that they've added that in. Keep talking about that each week. The MIDI routing on that thing makes that device, like, if you just didn't have anything else and just had the MIDI routing in that and the sequencer, that just makes it worth every cent, even just with that. So adding the ability to have, inbuilt synths in sampling and looping and all the other cool things it's got, it's a really, really good thing to get. So there's absolute no-brainer. For me, it's probably the best sampler in my studio, and I would say I'd put the crown on the MPC Live. Now, when I say MPC Live, I also mean MPC X, I mean MPC One. That operating system is the same throughout those. So if you're wondering, is it just the MPC Live? No, it's the whole MPC range, the latest one. Not the MPC Touch though. Okay, so let's get rid of that one out the door. But look, the MPC Touch was the reason why the MPC Live was born. A bit like this next one, which we haven't really talked about, because the Maschine was a bit like the MPC Touch for a long time, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden, Native Instruments said, well, let's make a hardware version of it. And they did. And we don't have it yet. No one really knows how good this thing can be and how good this thing is, apart from a few YouTubers who have had their hands on it. And to be honest with you, YouTubers, whoever you're watching, your videos aren't good enough. Like, I want you to be in this thing and I want you to be pulling this thing apart, like, you know, in terms of using this, plugging it into all sorts of gear. I want to see different workflows. I want to see this thing. I haven't seen it. You know, that's what I'm saying. I've probably just got to get my hands on it. That's the thing. There's a lot of Maschine people out there and Machiner people out there that swear by it. So now that there's a hardware version, if you're swearing by Machiner and there's a hardware version, why aren't you racing out and pre-ordering this? That's the question I've got for you guys. And also, while I've got everyone here, who is interested in buying the Machiner Plus? Or do you need more information like me?
I watched a pretty long video on it the other day. It was about 30 minutes, and it was the only one he showed that you could actually change, like, the synths, like massive. So he showed, because till then I just thought they were presets.
Mm.
But I'm not a big fan of NI. I think Berg said it last week. I think when they do updates for this, you're going to have to pay. Now, I usually buy things after they've been out a while. So I bought the MPCs after they've been out a while, and I knew they'd had a little update, nothing major, and that's why I bought the Force. I want to love it. I'm worried about the CPU. I'm worried about the updates, them charging, but it could be awesome. I mean, the virtual instruments it's got it are really good. I'm just wondering. Yeah, I'm like this. I'd like to see someone actually buy it who isn't a machine head and tell us what they think.
Right.
You know,
well,
rather than get it free.
A couple of people in chat have said that they've got Maschine Mark III, like Mr. Gumby has. And he's saying that he's not going to buy the Maschine Plus. It's just, technically, it's just, might as well just get a better laptop, which is probably a consideration. Someone else mentioned that they weren't, well, Goose said he wasn't interested in it initially due to the price, so he thinks that the price is a bit much. Jamie from Geosynth is saying it's really not much different from the Maschine Mark III, so therefore, if you've got a Maschine Mark III, there's a lot of people that are saying, why bother, because you're not really getting anything different. So there's a few opinions out there. No one really agrees with me though, and that is that I still personally don't feel we've pulled it apart enough in terms of it's all well and good to talk about Maschine Mark III and you connect it up to the laptop and how that works for you. And I've got a Maschine Studio here. It's not much worse than a Maschine Mark III. It's probably the same, in fact. I know how Maschine works, but you've got a bit of hardware. How does it sound? How does it sample? That's different to you and your PC. That's different to you and your Mac. Does anyone agree with me there? Because it's not the same thing, is it? It's not a Mac. It's not a PC. It's a dedicated piece of hardware. It's got to sound different.
I'd never
I like to hear what Will's got.
personality.
Let's see what Will says, because I know Will was deep in thought there.
Not interested. Not interested in.
Is that what
Maschine,
NI
but
stands
it's
for?
could be. I mean, it's more of a product of something that someone else said when you found the box that does everything, you don't need anything else. And I found that box for me. And one other thing I did want to mention, Andy was talking about the W30, and what you're describing sounds a lot like Bitbox technology, that you have that sample, simple kind of very basic, put the sample in and have it stretched out across the key bed. And that's what Bitbox is doing for me. And that does sound different with filtering and things like that. And I'm digging that.
Yeah, it's cool.
And then Darren mentioned the computer stuff earlier, and I just wanted to say to anybody that's looking for a sampler that has like Ableton, there's this one made for Macs. It's like a Macs plugin. It's called Instant Sampler, and I've used it, and it's really, really great. It can sample up to like 2 seconds, but what you're doing basically is you're assigning a key on your keyboard, on your computer keyboard, and while you're holding that key down, it's sampling, and when you let it go, your sample is there to play. So it's instant, and that's free. So if anybody wants a free Ableton sampler, there you go.
Yeah, interesting. All right. Well, Jamie mentioned in chat.
I've got that. It's great. Well,
let's see if we can grab this up. Jamie mentioned in chat that the NI sounds quality is actually really, really good, and he prefers it to the Akai's. It's a very, very interesting comment. Now, he has an Akai MPC
he's
one.
Also made a.
Yeah, go.
I was just going to say, Ramsey, he's also just said that they're a bit late to the game with the standalone, which might be true. I think if you're in the market for that standalone box, you've probably already been thinking about it for quite a while and made your choice, and they're coming to it almost as a. Oh, and if Akai's doing really, really well with these, why don't we do one as well? The thing looks amazing. I think the actual look of the Maschine Plus is lovely. It's really lovely. It's a very beautiful looking device. But I've made my decision. I've put my marker down already, and I don't think I'm going to shift it now, no matter how good that thing is.
Yeah. Look,
What would it take? What would it take?
Well, let's answer that one. Yeah. What would it take? What would it take for that to shift you?
Half the price.
What could it do for you?
The price. Okay.
Just the price.
Like what Inky said. They need to bring the price down somewhat. Yeah, I was also a little bit concerned about the CPU usage when you got half a dozen. Instruments open. I thought, it's up to 80-90%. Maybe it'll struggle if you're trying to do more than that. I mean, that might be all you need. Who knows? But I was a bit with Inky on that one about the CPU. So I thought, well, I'm going to hang fire for a while. But in the meantime, I will almost certainly have spent my money on something else. Well, the MPC one.
Well, we're talking about.
I'm glad that they bought that out.
Hang on. So Will was first. Go, Will. No, that's it.
I was just going to ask, how is the secondhand market doing on the live? Because I was going to, suggest a small piece of sound advice to anybody out there looking for something. Go into the secondhand market if you're getting your first sampler. I would personally, if I didn't have what I have, I would be looking for a live, OG, original MPC live. If the market
like the one I've got
is there for, because I don't know what the one.
I disagree. Will, and I disagree. For something with a touchscreen at the price, so I could sell my lives for about the price of an MPC one, right? About 600 quid, right? In the UK. Now I want that. It's not like America. In America, you can send things back really easily. In the UK, you can't. I want something.
Yeah.
Because my first Force, the screen kept heating up. So if I'd have bought it secondhand, I'd have been screwed.
You walk out the door, you own it. It's the same in Australia.
I guess it depends on where you live then. Because over here, I can buy the extended warranty with used equipment.
Yeah.
No, we don't get that. What you get is if you get something wrong, you are foobarred, right? So
Yeah, I don't.
I
agree
would
with that
never.
then.
I would. Yeah. We got that. We don't get any guarantees, Will, and you lose. So it's no.
Look,
Yeah.
I actually look. Wearing another hat, experienced business owner and things like that. I have to say that price is actually a really important thing. So if you're a manufacturer and you're watching, you've heard here that there's people in the chat, there's people here on the video calls here have all pretty much said, I'm not going to get this because I don't like the price. And there's a reason for that. And it's not because of the actual price. It's because of the value that they hold to what you're offering to the actual amount that you're actually asking for. There's a thing called value. And when we are going to fork out a certain amount of money, we have to value that. We have to go, oh my God, I don't care how much it's cost. I'm just going to get it because it's amazing, right? And if there's something that doesn't give you that reaction and all of a sudden it's like 1,400 US or it's like the MC707 is around about 800 pounds, that someone's going to go, nah, it's not quite, like I can get a laptop. You know what I mean? They're making other sort of considerations and the value is directly related to the price. So I definitely agree with you guys with that price comment. So don't ever feel bad about saying it because it's definitely an emotional thing. We have uses with our money. If someone's dangling something in front of us and going, here, buy my Native Instruments Maschine Plus, 1,400 US, I'm going to go, well, you know what? I can buy a new Mac for that. And it's going to do a lot more. It's going to be able to, I'm going to be able to watch Netflix on it. And I can't watch Netflix on my Maschine Plus. No, but it's just an example. But yeah.
I am glad that they brought Maschine out, Maschine Plus.
So we'll go Darren first.
I am glad they brought Maschine Plus in one way because I'm hoping that'll tweak Ableton to come up with like a version of Push, but more on the Maschine Plus route, but better, hopefully. Don't know if they will, but I think that'd be a nice push for them.
Do you think they will?
I want them to. Last time I spoke to them. Yeah, I think they would. But whether they will or not, I spoke to them and they said they always kept saying they were thinking about it, and as of yet, nothing. So
yeah,
I think it'd be good if they will. The more, the merrier.
I don't know about this comment that people are saying, and nothing against it, but there's a thing about being late to the party, or it was a little bit late that they brought it out. I don't know about that because when you think about it, you could say, well, Akai were a bit late bringing the MPC Live out. When they first brought that out, there was people saying that. They're going, oh, you're a bit late bringing it out. We still love the MPC 2000, and it wasn't quite the same. And it's changed. The landscape has changed. And I think you'll see Native Instruments develop this product. They've heavily invested in the Maschine product. It'll progress. You watch this space.
I think when the Live and the X came out, it was more of a planting their flag. Like they were behind, but they came out swinging. And I'm not getting that vibe. I'm not getting that like this is the game changer that you need, which is what I felt. That's why I bought my X. I was like, this thing is going to do everything. Oh my God, I don't even need to try it. And then, so that makes me wonder now too, like how much is the Maschine Plus Studio going to cost? This isn't the big one.
I'll show you my studio. You can have my studio controller. You can plug it into your laptop. It will be a hell of a lot cheaper than the hardware version. I'll give you the tip. Yeah. I agree with that point. I think a lot of people are still making that sort of definition. I think Akai were lucky because they never really had like a massive sort of NPC2 software fan base like Maschine people did. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't sort of hear the same sort of comments about, oh, I'm an NPC2 man. You don't really hear like, whereas I'm a Maschine person, and they never really that touch the Akai touch never really sort of. I mean, Akai probably would tell me different, but I don't think it really sort of took off either. So yeah, you're probably right, Will. I think you're right. It probably was a big sort of statement from them, wasn't it? We're doing these hardware. I mean, they've got legacy behind it though, whereas Native Instruments haven't really. They haven't really got massive legacy behind making hardware like machines other than controllers, right? So they've got a big controller legacy, but they don't have that sort of standalone legacy, do they? Whereas Akai do. Akai have got good history, good cred, definitely good cred, right?
Yeah, and the touchscreen was the kind of planting the flag moment, and I'm not sure what NI's planting the flag is going to be.
They don't have a touchscreen, so that's the big argument. Why doesn't it have a touchscreen?
And that's fine.
That's a bit.
It's for me, whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, Inky, you were saying?
I think that's a bit of a mistake at the price they're asking. But the price they're asking is really big for their instruments. That's what you've got to understand, is you're buying their instruments, which are really good from what I've heard. But I'm wondering who's going to buy this, because anybody who really wants a hardware device, like Andy or like us, has either got one or is thinking about one, and we're all kind of erring to NPCs. So if you've got a machine and a laptop, are you going to buy this? I'm wondering where the market is. I mean, a lot of younger people, I think, who are machine heads, would like to have it, but I don't know if they'll have the money, will they?
I reckon it's a small market. It is a small market. I don't know. Yeah. They're not going to be selling like Akai are. Look, what you said about Inky, what you said about Andy is actually really probably the epitome of why I actually decided to do this stream. And that is that, I mean, Andy, we'll use you as a guinea pig, mate, and I don't mean this in any any bad meaning. But see, what Andy's doing is he's got his situation already, and what he's looking to do is he's looking to upgrade. And the upgrade is going to give him a future that he's kind of dreaming about right now. So he's in that sort of pondering land where he's not sure. There's a bit of money. I don't know if I want to part with it just yet. There's a bit of trepidation, a bit of timidness. You know what I mean? So but he knows that the dream is if I get to that point and I upgrade my hardware, this is going to deliver all of these benefits to me. And that's where he's at. And you've got to think to yourself, is something like the Native Instruments Maschine Plus going to do that for you? Is the Octatrack going to do that for you? You start listing all the products, and that's a really good question to ask. Andy, would that be kind of your similar thinking there?
It's like being on the psychoanalyst's couch. Thank you, Mr. Freud. Well, yeah, actually, I mean, you're right, because it's born of frustration. It's born of the frustration with these two things, which work happily together most of the time. But it's a ball ache trying to get this thing to control the other things that I've got round here via MIDI. It will do it from its own pads, but I can't turn around. I mean, I can turn around to the synth, play the synth, and it will trigger the internal sounds on the Electribe quite happily, or the Electribe sampler if I set my routing over there. But what it won't do is I can't play the keyboard and record it into the Electribe and have it play the Pro One.
Yeah, it doesn't pass through.
It won't pass through, and that is a real limitation. So like you were saying about the MIDI routing on the MPC one or the MPCs, that's a real big issue. That is going to solve a working problem which I currently have. I have no way around it other than trying to invest in MIDI splitters and this, that, which I can't be bothered with it really. I've got MIDI patch bay and little MIDI through boxes, and I don't want to be splitting and merging and no. But the MPC has that in the same way that actually a DAW would as well. If I was plugging it into the DAW and sending it out, I mean, I can technically do that here.
Yeah.
But that's not what I want to do. I want it hardware. I want it to work hardware around here. So the MPC will do that quite Happily.
So let's address that while we've got you on screen, right? So
Yep.
that is not going to do that.
Not to the same extent, no.
Nope. That is not going to do that.
I don't know if it does or it doesn't, so I'll have to trust you.
That can do that, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'd picked that one up. I'd looked into that one as well.
That may do that,
That can't.
but let's not hold our breath and die
Eventually.
wondering.
Yes. deluge will.
Obviously, you mentioned that will do it. And that is the reason why you want to upgrade this, because this really is like the little baby in the pack here. And look, nothing against the Electro sampler. I actually think this, you know, Andy, you've had this for a while. It's very capable.
Yeah.
Now,
It is.
while we're talking about this, I actually wrote a blog article about this a couple of years ago, and it's on my website. I don't know if I've got the ability to show that or not. Let me just quickly bring it up here. So basically, what I wrote about was all the shortcomings of the Electro 2 sampler, and you know whether Korg we're going to fix it, ways to get around the issues with the sampler, all kind of tips and tricks on that. So let me just see if I can bring that up just quickly so you guys can have a look later. 2017, wow, geez, that went quick. Where'd life go? You guys ever find that you write stuff and then realize that you wrote it like maybe 3 years ago? Okay, here we go. So that's not who I want. This Andy, and this is the article. So it's called Electro 2 Sampler Tips and Tricks 2017 edition. I don't, Andy, can you confirm if that's still the latest firmware, 2.02? I can't remember if it is or not. Wouldn't be surprised.
I have no idea. I upgraded it when it was available. I've only ever done one upgrade. I've never even looked since.
Yeah, right. But look at this list of issues still to be resolved, right? Having to re-import user samples after power cycle. Now that doesn't necessarily have to happen. There's a way around that, of course. But if you don't know what you're doing, if you're just not knowing what you're doing, that is an issue. It does a thing called voice stealing, which I absolutely hate about it. And it's if you start using effects a lot more, it really, really does voice steal. It's nasty. So it's got a very limited processor in it. There's this note cutoff issue on the pattern change. It really affects your live playing because you get these things where you want the note to continue to tail, but it will just literally cut that note off, and you're now listening to the one that you've just pressed the key for. The thing I hated about it was the attack problems. There's like minor adjustments you can't make to, and it's almost like there's an operating system lag, and you get this kind of jumping business going on when you're doing it. It's just really, really annoying. So to me, a lot of the problems with the Electro is that Korg have just really skimped on the processing power. They've just put probably the cheapest processor in there. Anyway, I won't bore you with one of that. You guys can go check that out. If you do have an Electro and you think to yourself, I want to know what else is wrong with this thing, there's a massive big long list. But there's some good tips in there. It's about how to improve your sample lengths and double your sample storage and things like that, which, Andy, I'm sure you know, just by working with old school samplers, you just use those old tricks.
Not quite.
Like making a mono sample instead of stereo.
As a sampler.
It's great.
I was
Just
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go, Will. You can go.
I was just going to say about the MIDI stuff, to your guys' point about the mapping within the MPC, it's great.
Yeah.
The Deluge will also do a very easy map. So you can hold learn, and you hold learn and shift. You press a button on, let's say, my Rev 2, and then you press a button on the MS-20 or a key. And now the Deluge is the hub. So you could play here and actually control the MS-20 from the Rev 2, but via Deluge. and then you could record your parts. And it doesn't do that pass through, which is really annoying right now on the MPC. If you're using a MIDI keyboard and you've got an MPC program in, it's going to trigger the samples. I don't know if you guys have a way for that to not happen. I haven't figured out a way yet to where if I have a drum program in the MPC and I'm playing on the keyboard, unless I go and shut off the incoming MIDI to that track, it will trigger the samples from a keyboard. So that's a little bit annoying.
Yeah, you can do that.
Just
You can definitely do that. Yeah, no, you can fix that. I can talk to you about that later. It's easy to fix. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I definitely the Deluge is something that's kind of hitting the top, I think, in terms of what everyone's kind of saying. So, yeah, look, I don't have one. It's only not because I don't like it. I just don't think I need it because of everything else that I've got. Maybe if I sold my Octatrack, I could probably get it, but I don't know. In terms, for me, I'm a bit of a more visual sort of person. So, like, when it comes to routing MIDI, I love the way that Akai brought that new firmware update. It's just like a big list, and literally, it's columns and rows, and the rows are tracks, and you just say, right, I want that device that's coming in to go out on that device going out. And it's just so simple. Like, you don't need a manual. It's like so simple. It's brilliant. And whoever designed that needs to be, given a pay rise. It was just really, really well done. It's actually even easier. Like, I get people who send me messages still to this day wanting to know how to MIDI route in Ableton. So if I'm getting people still sending me messages that Ableton haven't quite solved how to do MIDI routing, whereas if you look at that MPC, it's so easy. It's so easy, visually as well as hardware as well. Whereas, like we were saying, with the Deluge, it's a button sequence. So some people don't like that.
If you wanted just wanted a specific mapping, you could map any external gear to any other external gear.
So I like that, but what I do also like is to be able to go see what I've done before in a screen. And that to me is that's the winning solution there. I can see making the ease of use, hold this button, press the synth, map it to that, job done. It's easy, but then later on down the track, I want to go, okay, what did I map? How do I find that out? It's that's probably where the Deluge slightly falls apart, but that's not a criticism at all. It's just like I'm saying, the Akai's got that over it, definitely.
Yeah, we all have our visions for what we want to do in our workflow. So that works for you.
All right. So chatties have been making comments. Mike Delic saying still the Ensoniq ASR10. Okay. Tell us why you think the Ensoniq ASR10 is your go-to brilliance. Is it like
there's a lot of people who still really like those Ensoniq samples. Yeah. I think for the same reason that we still like the old Roland samplers, that there is a nice sound to them, and it's all to do with the converters being not very good. I think basically is the truth. And certainly the W30. I mean, I don't know the ASR10. I did have the opportunity to use an EPS 16 Plus for a while, and really liked that. I thought that was a great sampler with a really lovely sound. Sure, the samples that you put into it came out sounding a little bit different, but that was nice. That was what I mean by character, personality. And I think I mentioned to a comment Will was making about the Maschine Plus. What's its personality going to be like? Is it going to have its own character? And I think that's also part of why we buy particular bits of gear, why we like particular bits of gear, why we hang on to bits of gear is just that they speak to us. They have their own charm. Yeah, that thing. It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
that brushed aluminium. Can you get up the EPS 16 Plus just for my nostalgia's sake?
I think you're muted there.
Gone quiet, Ronzi.
I've gone quiet. There we go. Well, you guys weren't talking.
Take a drink.
Take a drink.
All right. So I was just saying, let us know in the chat what else you guys think is your go-to sampler. I mean, I did talk about some older stuff, but I don't think I've got anything as old as an ASR10 or anything as old as what Darren's got, like the old Akai stuff. The oldest sampler I had, I think, probably would have been the MPC 1000. I think. Yeah. So that's not that old, really, is it, Will? When you think about samplers and
No, not too old. Not too
Hey,
old. I've
if
got
I-
a S2000 and I got a 2000 XL, and then that VHS recorder is just amazing. It sounds amazing. Really.
oh
does.
VHS, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just love that.
Is what brand is
I
it?
love the way it sounds. Alessi's.
Oh, okay.
It's the XT20.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an 8-track. Beautiful.
Nice. So yeah, Jamie's mentioning the Alesis. I don't know. I've always called it Alesis. The Alesis Fusion. It can sample, and it has 8 tracks. It has analog modeling, FM, and physical modeling. Not bad for early 2000s. Yeah, I think we
I'll have to check that out. I haven't heard of that one.
have talked about the Fusion
It's quite
once
rare,
before
isn't
on
it?
the stream. Yeah,
we have, yeah.
they still fetch a pretty decent price too, I believe. So, is that the one that's got the hard drive in it? I think that's the one that's got the hard drive in it. The 80 gig, not 80 gig. Yeah.
Yeah,
We do
Wagyu
say, yeah,
just
80 gig.
said,
Yeah, there you
80
go.
gig HT.
Yeah, and it looks
Yes,
like a car.
folks.
Let's see if we
That
can get a.
counts. I've got one, buddy.
What have you got, Will?
Popes was saying he's got an S2000. Does that count? I was just telling him, of course that counts. I got one too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. The Alesis. Yeah, we did talk about this thing. I remember showing this. God, this thing looks crazy. Let's get this up on the on here. Give me a second. I need to click and do things. You guys just dying to see what the Alesis Fusion looks like. Here we go. Bang.
Okay, I can get behind that.
It does look a bit like a car dashboard, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Looks like
It
it
really
would fit
does.
right in my rocket ship.
Like
The
a
vents on the left-hand side.
a Toyota Echo or something. You know, one of those sort of cars.
Well, say,
Look at all
blimey,
the
what kind of
inputs and
car are you
outputs on
driving?
it.
Yeah, not that one. That's for sure.
Does it have a back panel?
A lot of outs or ins.
Oh.
Back panel. I can do back panel for you, mate. We
Yeah,
can
I
do
see
everything here because we have the interwebs, the webs of the inter. It does take me a few clicks though to get it onto the stream. Just bear with me. Here we go.
Okay,
Back panel.
a full 3D
There's your
spin
back
around
panel.
of it.
If someone's done it, Darren, in a video, I can do it for you. So if you find the video for me, I can show you it.
That's a lot of I/O.
Is that-
What is all that?
Yeah, that's quite cool. Yeah.
Stereo outs, 8 individual outputs, ins and outs.
Really?
Headphones out, foot pedals. Some of those sockets will be foot pedal controllers. It's got
I'm
MIDI
going
in out
shopping.
through. That's nice. Looks like it's got digital and coaxial inputs. It's got a
Yeah,
memory
this right up
slot.
my alley.
Does
It's
this
even got
streaming?
USB.
Bass player out.
Yeah. It'll make you a spaghetti carbonara.
Bad roadie out.
Cappuccino.
This is what you want one of them, Andy.
No, he doesn't.
Do I?
He doesn't. He doesn't. Trust me, the operating
No, I
system
really
on
don't.
that is
No,
it's a
I
bit like
really
the
don't.
it's a bit like the Korg M3. The back of the Korg M3 is similar to that. I'd probably say the Alesis Fusion's better though. But yeah, the back of the Korg M3 is kind of similar with all the I/O.
Jameson's got ADAT as well.
Yes, that's what the XT20 has. So maybe I can link them up.
PT Cruiser, hey? Damien reckons it's a PT Cruiser style look. I thought it was more Toyota Echo, but anyway, that's fine. You know those cars that have the steering,
Yamaha
they have the steering wheel, but
DJX.
they don't have the dash, like the speedometer and stuff in front of it. They've got it in the middle, in the center of the car. Like that does my head in. God. But let's not talk about
Man,
cars.
Yamaha DJX.
Oh yeah, the DJX.
I got
Yeah.
one of those things.
Yamaha SU700 is Roy's secret weapon. All right, let's have a look at that. So let's grab Roy's comment. Yamaha SU700. I don't even know what that looks like. I think it's probably one of these Robbie Puricelli type things, hey? Yamaha SU700. Oh yes. Let's grab that. This looks cool. Oh yes, I do remember this. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the. I actually think Robbie might have actually mentioned this to me. This kind of reminds me a little bit of the RM1X, but it's not. And I'm just stalling because I'm trying to get it into the software so you guys can see it. All right, here it is. Yamaha. I think that's the correct one. SU700. Okay, so while we've got that up, what is so good about this? Well, it's one of the, according to Vintage Synth Explorer, it's one of the coolest sampler sequencer music boxes around. But that doesn't say anything. 64 voices, 16-bit linear, 8-bit linear stereo, so 16-bit linear mono. It does 44.1, so CD quality sampling. 4 megabytes of RAM, upgradable to 68 megabytes. Wow, it's massive. I'm being sarcastic there.
It's the same sort of generation as Darren's AN1X, isn't it? Looking at the style.
Yeah, 1998. Yeah. RM1X as well.
Yeah, I wanted
What's
one
that
when they
little
came
thing
out,
on the
but at
right?
the time they were really expensive.
That's a little,
That's
ribbon controller.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
same as
kind
on
of
the
cool for that time.
Yeah, it says in
Yeah.
Vintage Synth Explorer, it says there's a ribbon controller for added enjoyment. Is that a bit like the Arturia?
Hey, yeah.
How can
The
you make
Ribbon
something sound so
AM1X
suggestive, Ramsey?
controller did A to B.
We're gonna have a
So that
meme
was
coming out this
self-morphing.
next week about the SU700 ribbon controller, aren't we?
Oh,
There you go. It was a good suggestion by who suggested that again? I've lost him.
Yeah, Roy Strobel.
Roy, yes. Well done, Roy. Kind of like Ableton in a box before Ableton was even in existence. Yeah, there you go. That's his comment. Beautiful. We didn't mention the SP 404, did we? We probably should have mentioned that.
MC99.
The Roland SP 404 because it does do streaming.
Yeah, Wagyu DJ70. Oh yeah, remember that one?
Which is the one that
Oh, nostalgia.
yeah, so there's the newest one was the SP404A, which had the IRA sort of look to it. Let me just get that. I'm gonna put that in for you guys who've never seen one before, but I'm sure you all have. Inky, you would have seen these in clubs, heaps. You would have seen these heaps in clubs.
No, not in the UK. That is very much an American thing.
Really?
The first time I really yeah. The first time I really heard about that was the new one that they've brought out.
Which is this
So
one.
in English clubs, all you really saw was 1210s and maybe a 303.
Right.
That's it. Hardware. Well, the best person to talk about hardware in clubs is Andrew because he was one of the people playing hardware in clubs. But I think he would agree it was more synths and a mixer. Samplers, maybe your MC909 and your 505. But I
So the
definitely
difference-
think that was an American
Heaven.
thing.
Oh,
Yeah, the difference is the 909 samples.
Yeah, these sort of things all come after the time when I was doing a lot of live playing. I mean, a lot of people who were playing at the same venues or even on the same bill, the thing that you saw the most was the Akai's, the S1000, S1100s. They were ubiquitous. I mean, I knew guys who used things like 909s and 303s, but they wouldn't bring them out live. They'd just sample loops off them, and everything was coming into.
Andy
was coming in. I'd packed in by sort of 2002. I'd sort of stopped playing.
Not the SX that you see here, but the one before, just the SP404 without the SX next to it.
See that's kind of late for the invention of dance music. I mean, I did have a go on a 303 with a pair of decks. My mate was playing, and he said, "Here's a 303. Have a go." In front of about, I don't know, 500 people.
Yeah, but how do you sync it up?
I couldn't understand it.
You can't.
Well,
you can't do that. I mean, that doesn't make sense.
You have to do.
You've got to clock it. You've got to clock it.
You could do it by ear. You can blag it, but I'm glad I couldn't even operate the sequencer, and I didn't really. I couldn't even make a sound out of it. I was just looking at it, going, "What the is this?" So, but we didn't really see samplers as DJs. It was just records and decks.
Yeah, I did see one guy who had a 909 with a pair of decks, but I guess he'll have been mixing the records to the tempo of the 909, not the other way around. The 909 will be like and everything would be mixed to that. You've
got to remember, as a DJ, you are the clock. On vinyl, those records aren't clocked together. You can't put the slider at the same wet thing. Yeah, they're all at different tempos, so you are the clock. So you're right, if you got 303 running, the DJ would get the records in time with the 303, because that's what DJs did. That was a skill you had to have, is getting two records in time. That's what a DJ meant, as well as finding the right records.
And I'm sure we've mentioned
I can get two records at a time.
Gerald and sort of flamming bass drums and stuff when they're not quite together.
Now there is.
Oh no, even worse than that.
There is one. There is one sampler that we've forgotten to talk about.
Oops, back to samplers.
And Roy is actually the one that's mentioned it in chat, and that's by EyeWill Instruments, and that's the new S2400 that they're doing, which is the modern remake of the SP1200.
Yeah.
And this I would like, because it's talking about he wants to be able to get a record deck, so it will do virtual vinyl as well. That's what he wants to do in the future. But it looks really good, because all the controls. I'm really into it, because it's a proper live device.
Now,
so which the samples are in.
Now I'm going to make you guys a promise,
change
right?
Speed and all that.
I'm going to make you guys a promise, because I know someone, and we all know that person very, very well. Is Ken Flux with it, Pierce. He comes on the show quite often, and I'm going to twist his arm almost to the point where it breaks. No, he won't even need much twisting at all. What we'll do is we'll get him on. We'll try and get Brad to come in, who's actually EyeWill Instruments guy, Brad Holland, and we'll see if we can get both of them on the show and give them a good plug, because like Will said, small mum and pop type business, family business. He's put his heart and soul into making this S2400 product. It's absolutely, like, I've watched him from the day he came up with the idea all the way through into where it's at now. You can buy it now, and he's actually shipping them. So he's actually making them and shipping them. So, but yeah, I think you guys will be absolutely blown away with this. So some of the things it does, obviously the same as the original SP1200, but there's so many other things that it does. Inky, like your disk streaming and all that sort of things that you'd love, is doing that. So yeah, how's that? Hold me to that if you want. We'll get him on. I don't know when, but we'll get him on. Maybe in the next couple of weeks. And I think we're probably hitting the end of the show, because we've been going for hours. Hours. We could talk about samplers all day, couldn't we? What do you reckon? I think we could probably wrap it up.
I could hitch one out the rack.
Yeah, pitch one out of the rack. I just wanted to say big heartfelt thank you to everybody who's come onto the show, giving up their free time. Is really, really, really amazing. Starting with, who can we randomly pick? Will, thank you so much, Will, for coming on. I want to get you back, mate, because I still feel like I didn't get enough of you. I think we just love to pick your brains a bit more. And I think everyone says they love having you on. So awesome for you to come and join us.
Very much.
Also, Lisa, same with you. We don't see you enough anymore on here, and I'm so happy that you're back. So
It's nice to be back, and it's nice to be back. Thank you very, very much.
no, it's awesome that you're here. Darren, you're like the rock in the corner. You're here every week, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you see me too much.
No, we don't see enough of you. It's awesome. Give yourself a little plug. What you're doing tomorrow? While you're there.
Oh yeah, if you liked Sunday's track last Sunday, Monday's track, which is out tomorrow, bizarre. You'll like that one. 303's on it, brands that you wanted. So 303 and the Dreadbox. So,
and we can't.
But it's not full acid.
Oh, I like it when you do 303 stuff that's not always acid, because you can use them as nice, like other things, can't you? So, like bassy sort of sequences and that. Yeah.
I prefer it when it's not full on acid screaming. I like the squelchy. I like the squelch sound of it.
Yeah, no, it's melodic techno. It sort of follows on from Sunday, the track.
Oh, good. So, I like that. Yeah, awesome. And Andy, of course, awesome to have you, mate, and your insights with everything that you've got. Much appreciate you coming back on as well. Love having you here. Welcome back.
We've sort of just mentioned emus. We haven't really talked about emu samplers very much and all this. So I've gone and dug this just for those people with an emu fetish. Dave Best out there. I'll hold that up and go, there you go. There's me ESI 4000 for you. Look at that. What a beauty. And it weighs a bleeding ton in this box.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Andy, can you just hold it there for another half an hour?
What do you think, Ramsey?
I just want to wait to see you flinch.
That's like the Xils, isn't it? They weigh a ton.
The answer's yes, but I won't be on again because they'll have buried me.
And not last but not least, but all you guys who are in the chat who are regulars each week, and even the people that have just come that are new, hopefully you can come back. We haven't scared you away. Much appreciated you guys coming each week. It's been awesome having you. And I think we will end the show here on a nice happy note. Thank you all very much for watching. We're all going to say bye and wave and see you all later and all that sort of stuff. And we'll end the stream here. I don't even have to press a button because it's been so good. See you later.
Thanks.
Take care.
Everybody. Mr. Popes. Bye.
As they say in Australia, say hi to your mum from me.